Okay, I think we're ready. So, I guess over to you, Jared.
All right, shall we begin this endeavor into the dark, mysterious world of Call of Cthulhu?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Alrighty, shall we do some introductions around then, or?
Sure. Uh,
Alrighty.
you go first.
Well, I'm Jared of Light. I'm the keeper of secrets in this adventure of Call of Cthulhu, and with me I have some amazing players. Let's go around and see who they are and what. Nadine.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm Nadine. I currently am in Perth, Western Australia, even though I don't sound like it. And I am so excited to be playing this incredible campaign, possibly, with the Cthulhu Crew. And I'm going to be playing Ophelia Cordova. And I'm really excited to, I don't know, figure out who she is.
Excellent. And next up we'll go Phoebe then.
Alright, yeah, hi, I'm Phoebe. I use they, them pronouns. I am in the US. I'm going to be playing Everett Grimm, who is, a fun little professor. I'm also excited to figure out kind of who he is while we play this game.
And last but not least we have Fab.
Hello, I'm Fab. I'm from Germany, and I'll be a doctor tonight. Dr. Tobias.
Excellent. Alrighty. So the scary thing about this one was trying to find exactly when the timeline fell on this, because things jump around a lot, and I was also trying to coordinate what details I gave you guys, and I couldn't find the exact date. So we start this adventure in 1926 on, I think it's June 5th. Yeah. So middle of summer. It's around the 70, 75 degree range. So for Celsius, that's around 2022.
Normal people.
I make sure that everyone's represented.
Yeah, come at me, Nadine.
Even in summer, it's sort of, Arkham's got that London weather. It's perpetually locked in that idea of just rainy. It gets a bit drier in summer, but it's still, rainy because they just can't avoid it. We actually start with the three investigators here. Well, I call them investigators, but just the adventurers. And for the first part, we're going to have one by one sort of introductions into their lives, because they sort of know each other casually here or there. What was the name of the cafe we decided on in the end that they all frequent together?
Oh, it was meant to be?
That's it.
Yeah.
Coffee shop of it was meant to be. Alright, so let's begin with Dr. Tobias Beck. Running his own practice here in Arkham, Massachusetts, separate from the bigger installations and the practices around here. He's made himself quite a name of getting to the bottom of psychotherapy and actually having good results for the 20s. By today's standards, they'd be abysmal, but by those standards, it was, it's therapeutic. They're actually leaving the doors and not coming back for at least 6 months. That's positive.
And I'm not electrocuting anybody.
So we start this one sort of straight into a daily life review. There's a couple of people sort of moving around. How big would you say your practice tends to get in terms of patients in and out?
More or less small. I'm not in Arkham for that long.
So a small practice, I'd say around about 10, 12 clients. You've got a small enough place that they can actually stay inside the premises itself. And you're just sort of on call to keep doing therapy for these people each day, see if there's any breakthroughs. Recent cases that's been coming in, there's been 2 that have caught your eye. It's concerning that they weren't taken to the hospital. Well, they have, one of them has been taken to the hospital. The second person showing the same symptoms. They came along to the practice and they were complaining of narcolepsy and insomnia. And it's just been badgering them for weeks and weeks and weeks now. One of them came in earlier, about 2-3 weeks ago, and the most recent one came in yesterday. And the symptoms are following like perfectly the same. If you continue this pathway, this person will, like the first one, which was the concerning part, they will slip into a coma. It's showing all the same signs, all the blood pressures the same age range, similar ethnicity. They just unexplained. They just slip into a coma, and eventually you have to take them off to the hospital. And 3-4 weeks have gone by. You haven't got responses from the first patient. Second one's starting to show that decline, but you're trying to work with them bits and pieces, but you can't really do much because they're just always tired. So we come to one of your best patients. I got the NPCs up here. For anyone out there, you really need to get OneNote because it is the best thing to do for organizing all. So we have Hilliard Black, a good friend of yours who... It's weird that one of your patients has become a good friend of yours now. He's a scholar out of time. He knows things of just reading up of the world. And recently he's been asking you bits and pieces about having more books in his collection. You actually come inside and he's painting just in his room. Just doing little paintings. You ask where, like, you think to your mind, where the hell did he get this canvas from? Like, who would let him have that? But you get the feeling some nurse is going to be having a talking to later. But he sort of looks over and says, hello, doctor. And he starts continuing to...
Good morning, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, it's always a bright day when I get to see my good friend, discuss the world at large. I'm so... how should I say this? Unstimulated in here. It's quite boring.
Yeah, I can understand that. When did you pick up painting? I seem to have missed that.
I've been dabbling here and there. I figured I'd put my hand to it and see how well it comes out. Now you look at the painting itself, it's pretty strange. It's basically like a watercolor design to it, but it's just all over the place. And the shapes are just weird. You're not sure what he's quite going for, but it's definitely not... like, it shows a careful hand more than anything else.
Okay. I would try to go full projective things over that and try to find out what does this represent.
Roll me a psychology roll. First roll of the game.
Woohoo! The black one, right?
I think it's black one for the rolls, yep. Ooh,
No, it was the green one.
Still can use that, so that tells us that you get a hard success with 0 dice, so that's impressive.
Yeah.
So, looking into this, you would assume if you were, using psychology and diagnosis, there's like a shared role, you'd say he's of a split mind. This is artwork that is showing that he is not forming himself in any one regard. He's bits and pieces there, splashes over here, colors over there, and it's just a mishmash of colors. If you had to guess with a hard success, you'd say that he's trying to identify why his mind is so fractalized, and he's trying to use that as an ephemera right now, trying to paint it out so he can see it himself. And you get the feeling he might be doing it subconsciously.
Interesting.
And he sort of continues painting and says, "So, Doctor, what are the questions for today then?" And he gives you a bit of a weird, like not a weird smile, a very devilish.
Eek.
You seem to have something in mind.
Oh, you know, it's reaching that time of the year. The witching hour. The hounding sounds from the hill up and to the west. You know what I'm talking about.
Do I know what he's talking about?
Every year,
He's probably talked about stuff like that before, yeah?
you've had him for a while now. He's only mentioning it now that it's coming closer to the date. Around this time of the year, to the west side of like Arkham, like far out into possibly countryside, there's always this loud droning hum that actually comes from the mountainside. People chalk it up to superstition. They call it, the witching hour. But the more academic people sort of consider it some kind of seismic activity. If you ask anyone from Arkham or the university, they'll just tell you it's a natural phenomenon, yearly occurrence. If you ask any of the skeptics, they say this is the time to be a skeptic. And at this point, he's sort of like, as he's looking to this, because he puts the painting brush down and walks right over to the window, hands behind back, just looking out to the hillsides of Arkham.
I presume his room goes to the west.
Slightly. At least one side of it faces to the west. And he just continues looking out the side, and he's just waiting at this point, really. He's not engaging because he knows he's waiting for a conversation starter, as he calls it.
Well, how are your dreams lately?
He doesn't respond, and he starts mumbling a little bit. Want me to listen?
Oh, success!
Dang.
That's impressive. The words you
I gotta
get through
remember to
there-
mark my successes.
Yes, so every time you succeed at a check, mark your boxes for improvements later.
Especially the low one.
Oh, yeah. Let's hope listen goes up from that. You catch a few words in there. The words that come out is the dreams. You also get the words of goody. He keeps saying goody over and over. Roll me an education roll.
Success.
Dang.
All right.
Just means our rolls are going to be crap.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for you guys to roll for. Success would let you know something very interesting, which is a bit concerning that he's, mumbling this. Out his window, where he's looking, is sort of called Capitol Hill. It's got a bit of a bad reputation towards it. If I can find the little piece of information. Also, you need to look at these old books because the artwork is just amazing, but horrible. So, there we go. So, there's a rumor up on the hill. Arkham and the New England countryside is steeped in that old burning of the witches culture. One of the more famous ones of these was a woman who nicknamed herself. With an education success, you know that that's Goody Fowl. And every once in a while, there's a tale of a child spooked on the hill by Goody Fowler's ghost and all that nonsense. And you can also see as well, he's looking right up to the hill as it's, the morning hour at this point. And he keeps mumbling, and then he just sort of stops. He blinks his eyes a few times, and he looks to the left, looks to the right, looks up and says, where am I? And he looks down at his hands and he's like holding his hands going, who's, what the hell? What's going on? He looks right at you. He looks pale and he looks flushed as hell.
What's the matter?
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Beck. You know me.
So you're nicking on my internet. It like
and
went
he
right
sort of
down,
stumbles
and then it
towards
came
the
back
bed.
as soon
He
as you came
looks
off it.
exhausted.
What just happened? Can you
I'm
tell me how you feel?
so tired. Oh, and he sort of like falls onto the bed and like his eyes just sort of like flicker a little bit and then he just sort of snoozes it. That's the first time that's ever happened with him.
But that looks like that other patient.
Similar, a little different. It was never that. It definitely wasn't that sudden with like the other patients. Theirs was like a gradual process. This was fast. It's never that quick with the effort. So at this point, the good thing to do would be call the nurse.
That's what I do.
Alrighty. So let's move over to Everett.
Okay.
So a fun thing that's happened with you. 1 second. Get myself my drinks. Yeah.
Is that Everett has a Cockney accent?
No,
We're not going to hear
worry not. He doesn't have a Cockney accent.
that.
Damn.
Oh, we can't hear that. Damn it.
Oh my goodness.
So, describe to me what Everett would be doing on an average morning academic.
I think since we are currently in early June, he wouldn't probably have any classes really going. So I think the summer is kind of more so for him to focus on research. I imagine, I don't know, maybe now that he has sort of just, finished up grading the last of the work that he received from the semester, he has been kind of badgering the head of the department to, fund a local expedition or something. Since, he's an archaeologist, he's probably has some sort of little local, maybe if there's some sort of cave or rocky outcropping where he just likes to go dig for fossils or whatever, mostly just to keep himself busy. It's not like he's gonna find anything particularly exciting by this,
Just something to
town
help, like,
on the East Coast, but
deal with the constant must be doing.
exactly, yeah. So he's probably working on proposals for local digs or something.
You'd probably be working very carefully and very closely with the mentor himself, Professor Robert Gallagher. A lot of your requests for expeditions have been severely stonewalled because 8 months ago, and you were sort of a part of this travesty that occurred, shipments between the university from one side to the other had gone afoul with some ruffians, and a lot of the stuff from the archaeological digs in Knossos went missing.
Oh,
The amazing level of administration, I don't want to say the word, like mess up, has basically had journalism all over it saying, is there, corruption at the university? What's causing this? Is this like secretly going to the black markets? What's going on? And poor Robert's kind of been embroiled in all of this, just saying, no, we were stolen from. Clearly it wasn't us. But a couple of the journalists are trying to spin this as the academics are trying to like pull the fast one on the regular people kind of thing, which some
Classic.
people are taking too, but what can you do?
right.
Because of that, Robert's been um, very secluded this last half of the year. He's been, talking to you about classes and all that stuff, but he's been sort of disheartened because he was near to a breakthrough with that last shipment. There was something in there that he was calling his claim to fame, his big event, like surprise one, and he was going to bring that with you as well. And when it was stolen, he was very heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of come to you two working about in the office, and he's basically giving you a few books here and there to sort of sift over. Can you roll me a library?
Sure. We established it was the green one, right?
Green dice, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know how that's so hard to remember.
Green is good, and that is a hard success.
Yeah.
You lose yourself in the words, going over and over and over and over. You don't notice that what you thought was a couple of minutes has turned into 3 hours. You're flicking over the books, and it's just pouring in. It's just information of old dig sites, potential landscaping areas. And then you don't notice that you've sort of stumbled on an area that your friend Ophelia would be more interested in than you. It's starting to talk more of the skeptical sciences of the olden days, the more occult dealings. But you bring yourself drawn to one diagram in particular. It shows some of the old torturous methods that they applied back then. And you swear that one of the pictures looks a little bit like yourself. Very crude design, of course, but you look closer and closer, and then you just hear Everett coming from like the professor as you like out of your stupor a little bit because you're being really drawn to this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Right over there. You seem a bit out of it.
When did you say this book was published?
That's mid 13th century. Wait, what are you doing reading that? I didn't know you could speak French.
Neither did I.
You look down, and the writing is in French.
Picked it up along the way. Yeah, academics, we know so much, we lose track of what we know, don't we?
He looks a little confused. He's like, of course. Come on, get over here. Let's have a nice scotch and enjoy.
Yeah, I think Everett is glad for it. He's a bit perplexed. He definitely holds on to that book. He's kind of just carrying it around the room a little bit as they go to get scotch.
Roll me an idea check, so intelligence.
Sure.
You guys, this is...
No, mine are going to be so bad.
Yeah, this is not good. You're rolling good now. That's not a good sign for later. Couldn't have been. How could you have been reading this book? It's in French. You can't speak French. You got English up your sleeve and very good at that, along with a few other languages. But French is definitely not one of them. But you swear you remember flipping through this book in particular and actually remembering some of the words from there. A lot of it pointing to the daemons, as they prefer to be called.
Okay.
But you sort of push it out of your mind going, nah, can't be. Must have just mixed up some of the books as you were just going through tome after tome and landed on this one because, the pictures looked interesting. Oh, goody. Here's where the fun part happens. Ha, goody. So, Ophelia, on a lazy day of no work and, let's say, down on your luck stylings, what do you reckon you'd be doing at your...
Oh, goodness.
Put you on the spot.
I reckon she'd be, I guess pulling up old newspapers, calling in a few favors, see if there's any cold cases around, even considering taking on the lost cat tasks.
Lost cat cases.
Yeah, just kind of just looking for work. I think that's the time where she'd be just trying to keep busy with anything.
To your house, there are scattered newspapers over the table, a mishmash of ideas, and it's a sight into your psyche, this displacement of information. Your focus is drawn away by the sudden ringing of the telephone. Ring, 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 ring.
Oh God, I thought I switched that off. Okay, and I'll rush over and I'll pick it up. Hello, Ophelia speaking.
Hello, my dear. Is that Ophelia? It's Hepzibah here.
Oh, Hepzibah dear, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing quite fine. How about you, my dear?
Oh, I'm doing quite dandy myself. Busy as always, of course.
Oh, goody. I might ask a favor of you if you're in the neighborhood and not busy.
Anytime, dear, of course.
Good. Please come to my premises with post haste. This is a dealing that only I think your hands and eyes can see to.
I'll be there shortly, Hepzibah. Now you take care of yourself.
You too, my dear. Have a nice tea for your morning.
I went southern and I didn't want to go southern.
You're stuck southern now. I wasn't expecting Hepzibah to be southern. She's supposed to be German.
You know, southern German. Same.
Von Krieg, you know, that's totally southern.
What happened?
I like this though. Old southern belle lake.
Okay, I'll grab I suppose it would be 1920s. A big car, yeah. Just one of those rickety things that shouldn't be cars. Death machines.
Taxis technically do exist. You can still technically get a horse, but most likely you'd either walk or call up a taxi.
Oh, I'd probably call up a taxi. I feel like I probably wouldn't live in such a nice area where Hepzibah lives.
Quick ride over, weather as usual, people being busy. They're going more metropolitan every day. They're always wanting to be places and doing things. You get a couple of weird looks here and there, but it's not unusual given your line of work. A couple of people you recognize that you've maybe had a bit of a rough and tumble with, and they're just sort of a bit ego bruised by the altercation. But eventually you make your way to her house. It's quick introductions inside. She welcomes you in. She offers you a few drinks, and then she gets straight to business. Oh, goodness. It seems my grandchildren are in trouble here.
Your grandchildren?
Mm-hmm. Sarah and Andrew. Sarah's been telling me that her Andrew, my grandson, is missing.
My goodness.
She went to the police, but they chalked it up to just him running away with some dandy. And I don't take word for that. I say no. He wouldn't do that. But Sarah's concerned. More than me. She's living in their parents' house. God rest their souls. They left too young. And now my grandchildren are alone in this world, and Sarah's without brother. Please, Ophelia. She grabs your hands. You have to deal with this. And you just see the cat push over the drink.
Oh, damned animal.
She looks over and she just smiles happily. It's like, going for that drink. Oh, goodness me.
I feel like Ophelia, it didn't go well with the cat. They didn't bond.
No.
Well, of course. I'll do anything that I can do, possibly. Now, when was the last time you saw her? Him, sorry.
I seen him a long time ago. I don't see my grandchildren very often. I get the occasional call. They're too busy for their grandmother.
Oh, shame.
But this is a matter of family. I'm sure you can understand.
Of course.
Please go see my granddaughter.
I will. If you give me her residence presently, and I will attend her.
Shaking hand, she writes down the address to this place. You recognize the address? It's Upper District. This is, in a fantasy world, I'd call this the Jade District, but it's the mansion sides of Arkham. This is upper class.
I will I'll kind of raise my eyebrows but not say anything.
And again, you hear another glass just like fall over, and she goes, Jethro. Oh, he was always terrible with the drink, always dropping a glass here and there. Jethro! And she just walks right.
Goodness. I kind of like cuss under my breath, demon creature, and I guess I'll have a look around. I'll kind of ponder on the residents and the story that Hepzibah's told me, and I think I'll take my leave, heading over there. Kind of shout over to Hepzibah. Probably won't hear me, but goodbye.
The last thing you hear from the door is just, Jethro, get out of there!
It's gonna kill her one day.
I love it. Quick ride over, no fuss at all. And now that you get to the upper side of district, this is where the faces start looking at you a lot more seriously. A lot of people giving the squinty eyes, shaken head of, you're in the wrong neighborhood. But they're just passive, not really doing anything aggressive.
Love
You
those
might hear a
microaggressions.
whistle. Oh, microaggressions, fantastic. But eventually you make your way to the house. You give a quick knock. There's a doorbell to ring. You'd expect in this sort of region, like, there'd be a butler of some kind, but opening the door very slowly is a woman that looks like she's very shaken. She says, hello?
Good day to you. My name is Ophelia. I am a friend of your grandmother, Hepzibah.
Oh, you're the private investigator. Oh, come in, Joe.
Thank you so much. Now,
Would you like something to drink?
oh, I would, if you've got any scotch or water, whatever. She doesn't quite, she doesn't know what to take. What is appropriate at 9 a.m. in the morning?
Scotch, hard. She walks off. She goes to get a drink, and you hear her like holding a tray with the drinks on, and she's shaking like crazy.
Oh.
One of the things drops to the ground and sort of breaks, and she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll see to that. Just take a seat. I'll be right back." And she goes off, grabs something, comes back, and starts shakingly pouring out tea for you two. And she sits there and nurses the cup. Just
You seem quite shaken. Is there? Well, perhaps maybe you start at the beginning.
Every day goes by is another day that my brother isn't here, and another day that he might never come back again. He's a good man. He's shy. He keeps to his business work. He wouldn't do something like this, and the police chalked it up to fraternization, but that's not Andrew. That's not his style.
Well, when was the last time that you saw him, dude?
2 weeks. We had a big fight. He stormed out of the house saying that his investments would bring back money, and that she was just a misunderstood artist, and that her artwork would bring fame, glory, and fortune to these investments he put into.
May I be so candid as to ask who this woman is?
And you see her like breathe out heavily and just like disgust fill her face as she says, Olga Janopoulos.
That was Olga Janopoulos?
Janopoulos.
Do I know
Nothing
her?
good comes from that lady. Roll me. Played too much D&D. Roll me a knowledge load. Roll me a hard intelligence check.
So the black dice.
Yeah. The green dice.
Oh, boo. It was a success.
That wouldn't have been a hard success, though.
Yeah.
That would have just been a regular. Doesn't really ring a bell.
And may I ask what this Olga does? And her relations to your brother?
I can show you. Come with me. And she starts walking up the stairs. Opens the door to a study room that looks like it hasn't really been touched in a while. In this room, there is a desk filled with paperwork and filings. Just perfectly, not secluded, but perfectly sequenced. It's properly ordered. There's no random thrown around papers here and there. It's all neatly stacked in order. But in this room as well, there are 3 canvases with bed sheets over them that she sort of points to and says, "This is her artwork."
Is it good?
Do you want to start taking off the bed sheets?
That sounds very loaded. I'll turn to. Oh my goodness, what was her name? Andrew's her brother. What's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah.
Keatling.
Okay. Do you mind, Sarah, if I take these off?
If you have to see their disgusting visage, then fine by me.
I'll kind of furrow my brow in confusion, and I'll take off the bed sheets. Also, the music changed at exactly the right time. I love this.
Excellent. So there's 1, 2, and 3. There's a left, middle, and right. Which one would you go for first? They're pretty much equal distant when you walk in, so it's literally a choice of where you'd want to gravitate to.
Middle.
Yay! My favorite.
No.
Would you like to roll me a sanity check?
Oh, feck.
Oh no! It's so early.
Success.
Nice.
Greens across the board.
Lucky. All right. This one shows a rather, for the 1920s, scandalous photo.
Woohoo.
Absolutely scandalous. This painting depicts a beautiful black-haired woman atop an altar of stone. She has no clothing to herself as she lies out with hands running through the hair as she looks to be in some form of ecstasy, a state of tranquility. Roll me a spot hidden check.
I like the way I had to roll to be scandalized. Extreme!
Oh,
Nice.
Dang.
wow.
I see into her soul.
The picture is amongst trees in a forest line. It's dark, it's foreboding, and the light is pretty much like the colors are captured in her figure. Like her skin makes up the color of this painting.
Mhm.
But looking behind, there's something in the far distance between the trees.
Oh,
With an
goodness.
extreme success, you see something there. Very, very faint. Now, with an extreme success, I can tell you that that looks like fingers, maybe? Hand or two? Maybe some eyes? Of something doing this. Faint in the far distance.
So is it like part of the painting? Like, is it a figure in the distance, or does it seem to be like a bigger hidden between the tree? Like, I don't know how to explain it.
It looks like it's supposed to be part of the painting. It's one of those like attention to detail. It's one of those pictures that you see of like the old battlefields, and when you look really closely, you notice that the artist like left a little detail in there or something.
Okay.
Had you not been looking for it, you would have completely missed it.
This is quite a painting. Are all of her creations like this?
That one's the most tame.
Goodness. Are they just as scandalous?
Well, this one isn't as much. She walks over to the right one and takes it off.
Sanity.
Actually, I can show you the.
Oh, okay.
Roll me another spot hidden check. Oh, you know what? You rolled an extreme check for the first one.
Sick.
I'll say you see something similar with this. Roll me
Was that a sanity again?
Yep.
Oh,
Oh, goody.
No.
So this picture, the artistry of it is very well done. Like, it's very different style to obviously the first photo. It's literally a picture of a building in a landscape, as opposed to just a portrait picture. Looking over this place, the water, the color of it just looks like it's moving. It's a very good art piece, if just strangely disturbing, because your eye is drawn to that middle attic window. You look closer and closer and closer, and you see, oh, there's someone standing there, obviously. They're watching out. It's one of those creepy, someone at the window sort of appeals. 2 eyes? No, 3, 4, 6, 7. 7 eyes. 7 eyes. 1 point of sanity damage.
Oh, is that the far left one that I changed?
That's the far right.
Far right one that I changed.
Oh, sorry. That'd be the far left. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the middle is the start. And she sort of looks at it and says, "Every time I look at this one, those eyes, they look at you. I don't want them to." And you also look underneath, scribbled in Greek, obviously, because I'm not going to make you roll to figure out that it's Greek font, because Greek's a language that's, existing today. You see Greek writing on the first and the second painting, sort of underneath, scribbled.
Okay, and I probably do not know Greek. Okay.
Nope, but you know someone who does.
Okay. Can I just kind of make a bad imitation of the note?
Sure.
So that I can take it to my friend Everett.
Yeah. Right, and now the third one.
Do I have to?
Are you a curious person by name?
Of course, I'm an investigator.
Then you have to get to the bottom of it. When you pull back the third one, this time Sarah actually turns her eyes away, straight away. No spot hidden roll for this one, just a center.
Great. Bastard. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that didn't change.
Oh, yeah. For why?
Let me just check it.
Okay. Sorry, I figured it out.
Yep.
I'll roll another one.
Why is it doing that? Oh, sorry. It should be the far left.
Oh.
I can change the far left. I think we can only change the far right.
Yeah, I can only change the far right.
Which is our starting value, right?
What the hell? Yeah, middle's starting. Left should be current. It's someone.
Left is not my current.
One sec. Sanity. Nope. That should hopefully fix it. Nope.
Oops.
I'm in confusion. 1 second, let me try something. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it has to be the middle number then, I guess. The far right should be what you started with, and the middle one should be... Oh, I know what it is. Yep, because your power is low. Yep, okay, so the middle number is... So the far right is where you started at. The middle number is your current. The far left is a breaking.
Right, gotcha. Oh my gosh.
If you lose 8, because that's 1/5 of your power, that's your breaking point. So Yeah. You know, one more check, just to check, just to be safe. I want to give you the best.
He wants to break
Give me a roll for
me.
sanity.
So roll another sanity.
Yeah.
Rip pepperonis.
No. To be fair, 39%. It's not likely to succeed all the time. Where's my dice? This one is very confronting. You only take 1 point of damage, though.
Heck yes.
That's good.
That could have.
That's good because I'm like this close to my breaking.
This figure in this painting, it looks humanoid in shape. Colors emanating out of him in this. Well, I say him. You can't really gender this thing. It's more of a they at this point because you can't see beyond the silhouette. The skin is tightly packed to this figure. The stretchings of them are all wrong, and its face is this big smiling face, and its hands out again like this.
Great.
For the slightest moment, you swear that you saw its smile get a little bit big.
Now that is
I
quite.
am Vivo, the Carpathian.
Yes, I can see how that is confronting at the least, and I'll turn away from it myself. I think I got. Oh, actually, no. I'll kind of turn my eyes
Hang on.
away.
Roll me a power check.
Gosh darn. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, we're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Oh, you muted yourself, Jared. Oh, no, okay. He knows. He knows. I puke on Sarah.
So you looked at this thing, and your attention is drawn right to this figure, and then you actually notice what this figure is doing. He is. I keep saying he. You know, roll me a spot hidden check on this one to see if you can identify some more features.
Because I really want to look at it in more depth.
Yep.
Oh, now?
There you go.
Hard success. There's distinct qualities about this thing. Androgynous figure.
Okay.
Now that you're taking your eyes down to look, you notice what it's doing. It has its hands reaching over a crowd of people. They are barely a silhouette. Little identifiers, as they look like they're screaming. One of them looks like you.
Oh, good. Of course.
Great.
Why not?
Sarah sort of comes over and like grabs your hand because she saw that you were getting a bit too close to the painting, saying, "It has that effect on." And again, on the bottom, you see writing again.
Okay, I'm gonna try and like tear my eyes away from the freaky deaky that's going on and just take note of the writing.
Cool. Easy enough. I don't have to make you roll to write. it's letters. Like you just take your time.
After I'm done, I think I'll cover all of them back up because I don't think anyone needs to see them. And then I'll turn to Sarah. This is definitely the works of an interesting character.
She's weird. She's very weird.
That's definitely one way to put it. How did your brother come to know this woman?
Social circles. He hanged out at places of interest for enjoying your night, and eventually he mentioned this artist that he heard about. She caught his attention. She just kept. He kept mentioning that she was part of the Museum of Fine Arts, but he did tell me that she was kicked out because of these images. The museum didn't want to showcase her more macabre selections. And I don't disagree with them in the slightest. Look at these ghastly things. I only hold them because they might share some insight to what is happening with this. Ever since he met her, he changed. He was not the same person. He was aggressive. He was defensive. Any questions or inquiry, I had to stop within a couple of sentences. Otherwise, he'd just get angry. And that's not him. He's a soft person. He's never been like this growing up.
And you say this is only when he started talking to this woman?
Exactly.
Do you know where I might be able to find her?
I wouldn't have a clue. If you can find anything in here that might help link to her, I don't have the heart to look through this stuff. Too much of it's his handwriting.
Of course. Now,
she
we
sort of
must
just-
be strong, Sarah. I'm sure we'll find him. And I'll kind of
And she's just
hold
like
her hands.
teary-eyed. Like she sort of tears up quite a lot, just like welling in the eyes, and she accepts that, she smiles, and then she and just walks.
Love those
So-
1920s sensibilities.
Oh yeah, she's not built for this kind of stuff.
No, of course not. No woman is.
So, as a investigator, where would you like to be looking in this room, apart from the garish, macabre instruments of these weird machinations?
Okay, I'm going to do a quick thing before I head over to the desk. Can I go behind the easel or however they're being held and look at the back of the paintings, see if there's anything on the back of the paintings?
Ooh. That's a good question. Yeah, roll me a split hit.
Bam, hard.
Okay.
Couldn't have done those on my sanity rolls?
Yeah. Okay, so on two of them, you see writing for what looks like a price tag on these things. They've come up to about $150.
Dang.
That's pricey. You would not pay that much for anything half. Like, if maybe someone saw something in these art pieces, but you just don't understand it. One of them is $150, one of them is $200. At the back of one of them, you actually see that there is a slight piece of paper, like that's been not glued, but sort of pushed up against the back of the canvas.
I'll take it out.
Cool. You see a little note this big. It says, "My darling Andrew, please meet me at the Sailors Club tonight at 11. Do not fail. I really must speak to you. An important time for both of us draws near. OG."
Oh, nice. OG. Cool. So Sailors Club.
You'd recognize that as one of the speakeasies in the city.
Yes. Going to a speakeasy. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and that's what you see, at least from the paintings.
Okay, I'll tuck that into my inside jacket pocket and head over to the desk and have a look, have a rifle through all the kind of drawers and things like that.
Another spot hidden.
Ooh. It's so dusty in here.
Not so good. There's just too much to go through. You can't really find much of anything of importance. It's all just correspondence and information of accounting, which you're just like, ugh.
Oh my god, what a ghastly, boring individual. Okay, what else was in this room again?
So there's the art pieces. There's a couple of drawers, like stuck to the desk, and just the art pieces sticking out mostly. This looks like the place of a man who would be doing business. There's a mini bookshelf, but that's mostly just economics textbooks.
Okay. I think I'll as a private investigator, I'm sure I'm pretty versed in looking in all of those places that people would normally hide things. especially kind of like cash or documents or letters, kind of see if any of the floorboards are a bit loose.
Okay. Roll me a luck check.
That thing that I'm really good at. What?
Oh
Oh my god! Amazing!
Wow. You got so lucky.
I'm so lucky.
You tap, 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 and then one of the floorboards just sort of
Heck
shifts a little.
yes.
That was clutch. You sort of reach over to it and you find a false floorboard where there is a small box on the inside.
I will attempt to open this. Well, just because I play D&D a lot, I'm just going to look at this box, see if there are any nefarious means of trapping.
I'm going to ask you this. In the real world, if you were trying to hide something in a hidden floorboard, would you then put a rat trap on it as well? Like
Me personally? Heck yes.
me and most other sane people? No.
Okay, cool. I'll just pick up the
It's
box
like
and
at
open it.
that point, you're just annoying the person more than anything else. If they found the false floor,
Exactly.
they're gonna find you.
That's why I do it. It would be like an ink splodge on their white shirt, like haha.
Jeez. You
I'm a
open it up
Slytherin.
and you... I'm sitting here as the Ravenclaw being like, that doesn't make logical sense. So you quick open it up. It's almost like a shoebox. There are stubs to restaurant receipts, very fine cuisine stuff through here.
Ooh.
A lot of brochures for vacation spots all around Greece mostly.
Ooh.
And then you see some big checks and paperwork, all to a lovely Olga by name. Couple thousands of dollars. So bank, like, I think the word in today's standards would be sugar daddy.
Okie dokie. Sorry, I'm just writing this down for future notice.
Yeah, that's cool. But to be fair, you don't really see much else throughout.
Okay. I think I probably would have exhausted all leads, and I'll head back down to Sarah if I can find her, just to ask a few more questions.
Sure. She's calming down a little bit more because she sees that someone's obviously looking over this stuff. Because yeah, no, you don't know why, but like she seems a lot more calm now that you're here. Actually,
You've been very brave, and thank you so much for your help. Is there any chance you could answer a few more of my questions?
she nods deeply. Anything at all.
Did your brother like to travel at all?
No, not a traveling man himself.
Interesting. And did he frequent speakeasies? I know that you spoke of places that he might have met Olga.
He left for long periods of the night, but speakeasies? That doesn't sound like...
Okay. And you would consider yourself close to your brother?
Very close.
Well, I thank you so much for your time, Sarah, and your lovely tea. I think I've got everything that I can here. Is there anything else you would like to ask of me?
There's an inspector who's looking into this case. So he's a detective, Sergeant Patrick Devlin. He came through here with questions, but mostly chalked it up to a man excited by fast women and the moving speeds of bigger cities just leaving. And he says if he doesn't come back in another week, then he's gone forever and to better prospects.
Was that a cat?
Maybe.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that information. Here, and I'll write down my number on a scrappy piece of paper, and I'll pass it over to her and say, if you need anything at all, just call me.
Thank you. And she takes the letter and she finally lets out like a big sigh of relief.
and I'll kind of say the pleasantries and be on my way.
All right, guys, time for a catch up at the bean.
Central Perth.
Meant to be.
Meant to be. Hey guys, you walk inside and it's meant to be.
Exactly.
It's reaching late afternoon at this point. Practice is, I want to say lunch break, like evening break. There's a good chance your practice probably just closes up a bit earlier because you start up early. You might go back for late night correspondence or paperwork, but you're enjoying yourself a nice coffee at this point, Dr. Beck. And as always, your friend Everett, standing there with random musings and paperwork that they've found from their research, just sprayed out over this table as you two enjoy a nice coffee. And lo and behold, walking into the place is Ophelia. So, let's go.
I think I'll walk up kind of in a tizzy, say, oh, I have the most exciting news. One second, I need coffee. And then I'll walk off. I'll walk away and then go get some coffee. And I'll say, put it on Everett's tab. I'm sure he'll get it. And then and then I'll head back. And I'll sit down and I'll put the shoebox. This, gentlemen, is the beginning of something exciting. I can tell. It's going more and more southern, I can tell you.
Yay. So you two see Ophelia looking very excited.
Okay, so silly man.
You seem to have had it.
No, go ahead. What was it you wanted to speak about?
You seem to have had an interesting morning.
Yes, of course. I mean, I always have interesting mornings. I am a private detective. Okay, anyway, so, and then I'll get back to the shoebox and I'll explain everything that's happened, going to Hepzibah and then visiting Sarah, and I'll explain the paintings, and I'll say, I know it sounds ridiculous, but there was a face in every single one of the paintings, and they were most disturbing.
You can roll a psychology roll on that, Doctor. Reading your friend and how crazy she is. On the dot. Nice. Tick again. Oh, and Ophelia, all of those skills that you succeeded at, you put ticks for those as well.
Cool. I don't know what ticks are, but I've noted them down.
Yep. So on your character sheet where there's the box, you can actually click on it and it will tick it. So you know what you're improving later.
Oh.
When we did the character gen, that was for occupation skills. Now it's improvement ticks.
Je comprends.
Psychology tells you she looks a bit shaken up, but you're used to dealing with this kind of hysteria in your practice. Like, she's probably just using a bit of hyperbole, but she doesn't seem to be, like, going too much into the detail. She's not pushing it as, this is what happened, this is how it is, yeah, you don't believe me, you're the wrong... Like, she's just saying it in passing, and you assume it's just hyperbole. Everett, roll me with a bonus dice, so the black dice, a Greek check.
Sure.
Heck yes.
Hard success. Guess who knows everything written down?
Woohoo!
Yay!
So, the 3 scraps of paper that she sort of shows to you guys. Ask a question, actually. Ophelia, do you have photography? It's okay if you don't. I was just trying to remember if you had it or not.
No. Wow.
The 3 paintings, they have names to them. The first one that you read out is The Man Hanging in Dreams. And I'm pretty sure you could figure out which one that one is.
Uh-huh.
The second one is... It's called Sylvan Night.
Silver Knight.
Sylvan
Sylvan.
Night. Sylvan. And the third one catches your attention. It says... The Mansion of I was gonna say disposition. That's not the word. The mansion of desponditude. Long words, yeah.
Everett would, pass along the names and just, these paintings are oddly named, but given the disturbing content, I don't find it particularly strange.
Everybody roll me quickly I want to say education roll, hard education. So just the green dice going for half your score.
What the heck?
Extreme!
Oh, whatever, guys. I'm smart.
I love that you two remember this and she doesn't. Fantastic. When you read the word Silver Knight, that clicks up straight away. Hard at success, you got bits and pieces. Extreme success, oh, you've got this at your house. This was in the newspaper a while ago. Not too long ago, but you remember reading up on something to deal with, like, for Everett, it's but for the Doctor, you took close attention to this when you saw this. There was a cult using that name, and it was chalked up in the papers of this strange activity they did with a police raid involved. You don't remember all the details, but you do remember that it's at your house and it's in the newspaper, like one of the old newspapers that you've just sort of left behind.
Oh, I remember something about a cult a few months ago by that name. Anybody else remember that?
That was in the paper, wasn't it? I
Yes.
breezed over it. It's not exactly.
I think I have the paper somewhere, but I would have to.
Oh.
The Silver Knight.
Well, it seems worth looking at then, if this is somehow related to the case that Ophelia's on.
Most
Say, do
interesting.
either of you speak French?
Unfortunately not.
I just give him a look.
Well, only I don't, but I have this book, and I think perhaps I do. It's irrelevant. It just, had some strange occulty things that made me think of you, Ophelia. So I thought perhaps if
Well, pass it here.
you
If it's
spoke
anything to do with
French, well,
cults.
more so Damon's, and then he would pass out the book, and I think he would have like a little bookmarker at the page where he saw he thought he saw his face, and he would like open it to that page and just kind of slide across the table, but like not say anything to see if the others perhaps spotted it.
Both of you roll me a spot hidden.
I'm so
Feck.
good today.
Oh my god.
Here we are. Oh my god.
Wow.
Heck.
So fun thing that you can do, for those of you who are looking at English, it takes a root language from French, so you can roll English as a skill, and if you get an extreme success, then you technically piece out the bits and pieces from French.
Classic French.
It's the same with all the Romansh languages. If you learn heaps of Latin, then you can roll an extreme success to know all of the descendant languages from it, like bits and pieces.
Nice.
So roll me, if you want to, you can roll me a English check, which I think for most of you is just own language.
I failed.
Would you like me to do that as well, since I have already read the book? Okay.
Nice. Ophelia failed. Yep, everyone fails. Oh no, it's just a spot hidden. So yeah, Ophelia, you can roll if you wish to.
Okay. Yep.
The luck is, it makes sense. The luck is just not with you. Luck of 15. Oh, that's actually a good point I should mention. You guys can spend luck on rolls if you wish to. Obviously, it's up to you when you wish to use that. Like, I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to enforce it either. It's like, I might give you a hint at one point being like, maybe you should use luck on this one. But like, that'll be a bit more obvious when that stuff starts popping up.
Plus, you can't use luck on sanity.
Yeah. So
Rule.
that is another thing I should mention as well. There is the push roll mechanic. So if there's ever a situation where you feel that you can recontextualize how you're doing the thing with greater like less concern for your own safety or just greater attention to detail, you can ask me to push the roll. You roll it again. If you succeed, you get the thing you were looking for. If you fail, a regular fail would have been something bad. A push fail is something really bad. So that's on you guys to decide when you want to use that. Can't be used in combat and can't be used on sanity.
That's great.
I'd be really tempted to put it into sanity. It's like, oh, 1d10 becomes 2d20. Yeah. Cool. English, you get like very fragmented bits, but not enough to comprehend an entire paragraph or a page.
I'm sorry, I barely know English.
I know English and Southern English.
Get out of here. It's not supposed to be Southern.
What do I see on my spot hidden?
Right.
Extreme success. The picture looks like it was drawn separately to the how do I describe this one? It's not drawn. It looks like it was finely painted with a very fine paintbrush. You sort of flick a bit back and forth through the book. That's the only picture in this whole book that doesn't. And even the penmanship for the writing, that looks to be by Quill. Because, you know, old books.
I'm really close to that painting then. Did you see the painting on this one, Everett? It seems different from the other ones. Getting closer and closer to the book.
Yes, you know, I thought the painting was rather intriguing.
And
What do you notice about it? And he
with an extreme
kind of leans in a
extreme
little bit.
success, looking right at it, you think maybe? Nah, it looks a little bit like Everett, but then again, it's just a picture of a person, you guys. It's a lot of that going around this day. Just a
Ophelia's drinking her coffee.
coffee comes over, it's just black.
She goes, oh goodness. Did you put more coffee in this?
As I always do. Just pours it out for you.
Thanks so much, darling.
No problem. Just walks off.
It's Vegas.
It's Vegas. Darling, have another coffee. These big ass glasses, like, is that enough for you? Alrighty. So, what do you guys want to do?
I think I'm just mulling over everything that's happened today. And I'll say, are you guys up for an adventure? I'd like to go to a speakeasy tonight.
Oh, I wouldn't mind that.
It's a bit bold of you, Ophelia.
Oh, don't be such a... I was going to say square. I don't know if they had squares.
Squares more 50s and 60s.
Exactly.
Prude would be the word you
Don't be
use.
such a prude, Everett. Let's go. Let's live a little.
Well, I suppose it certainly is pertinent to your case, not just a social visit, so we have that excuse if anyone comes asking.
Who's going to come
I
ask?
I would I would like to do you think you could find the scrap of newspaper, Tobias, for this cult? I am quite intrigued.
Oh, we have to go to my office and look through the stack, but yes, sure.
Okay, let's go. And then I'll down the
Just grab
coffee.
everything,
In a bit, like, it hurts, but I need that
Like
sweet,
hot
sweet
coffee,
bean.
Quick sips. So it's quick sips of a hot coffee. Gets
Ooh,
a
goodness.
refill.
Ooh,
Chugs
it's
the
fine.
hot refill.
You know, for all the help we're offering, you ought to pay me back for that.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm always good for it. Then I'll leave quickly.
Alrighty. Alrighty.
We probably all have a running tab there, right?
For sure.
Yeah, probably.
I
That's probably why they
imagine.
like you guys.
My running tab just goes in between Tobias and Everett.
I like to think that like the reason they're so sort of friendly to you guys, it's like you've built a rapport of you don't pay every day, but when you pay, it's paid.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
That helps with the bills a lot better than just trickling amounts. So, do you guys like either one of you have a car, or are you just sort of walking back?
It
Everett
would be
doesn't
in
have
walking
one.
distance somewhat.
Yeah, I think we'd be strengthening those legs.
Okay. Everybody roll me a. So this is a combined roll. So you roll. Just click on one of the skills, and then you tell me if you succeeded the other skill as well. So it's a listen, spot, hidden roll. So just click on one of those and tell me if the number that you rolled would have been a success for either of them or both of them.
Okay. Yeah, I succeed on both.
Oh yeah, mine is just extremely.
I
not a
fail on both.
success.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like Everett and Dr. Beck, you've got a focus on your mind, which is you guys were the ones that remember the newspaper, so you're sort of honed in on that. Ophelia, you're the one that sort of has your eyes like looking around as you're moving and stuff. You're flicking through the papers, trying to just familiarize with all this stuff. And off to the distance, just one of the side alleys off the street, you get the weirdest feeling there's someone watching you from there. You take a quick stop to like think and look back, and there's no one there.
Okay, I'll catch up to the boys, and
You got a regular success.
I think just because I would be that kind of neurotic about it, I'll try and lose an imaginary tale. Just be like, oh guys, I want to go see the bagel place over there, and then and I'll kind of head off that way, and then I don't know, I'll take them to the park and try and kind of.
So that sounds like to me. Are you trying to like lose a shadow, or are you trying to investigate?
No, lose a shadow.
Okay. Spell hidden again.
Okay. Yes.
Cool. You turn back. You don't see anyone. I love how on that first roll, if you'd spent all of your luck, it wouldn't have done anything on that roll.
Don't say that to me. I know how shit my luck is.
But yeah, no, you're pretty confident. Like whatever, if it was following you, whatever it was, it's not following anymore. You saw hints of what might have been a trench coat and possibly a very garish hat, like a fedora.
Okay.
Milady.
No. Okay, I'll make
I'm glad you lost him.
I'll make a note of that, and
That's sanity roll damage. That's D20 or D100.
Nice.
Okay, and then I'll kind of just kind of be scattery and like it was just me, Ophelia, that kind of kooky lady, and then we'll head over to Tobias's place.
Quick walk over, not too far. You walk inside. What does Tobias's house look like? What can we learn from your character from the way that he presents his house to himself?
That he doesn't possess any stuff and everything's rented.
Very, very methodical of the doctor to have in his.
But a couple of like secondhand psychology and medicine books you will see.
Cool.
Like a stack of newspapers somewhere. Since like
One.
where you could
So-
date how long he's been an arc.
So everybody roll me a library use check. For you, Doctor, you get 2 bonus dice. So you roll a black. Because, it's your collection.
Oh my gosh. I just love
What?
books.
What?
Sorry. Wow.
You know my house better than I do.
Nice.
So...
I find Tobias's porn.
One little footy like... Whoop, whoop.
20's gone.
Oh my god.
A lot of psychological textbooks.
I have this brazier.
Just red in the face, like just grabs it, like puts it away. I like to think
You
that's
know,
probably why.
in the era of
that's probably why.
Freud, porn probably was psychological. You know?
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's all to do with the mother. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It was research.
I like the
Exactly.
idea that like that's how you completely just messed with his concentration, and he just failed, blushing and trying to look like he was looking for stuff, but just being like, "Where's the porn? Where's the rest?"
Oh my god.
He like stands in front of just one drawer. He's like, "Why you stood there,
Like,
Tobias?"
sifting through it like that. Every once in a while, you see him
Nope,
quickly
not
look
here.
at another one. Not happening. Just like covers it with his body, like, nope, definitely not here. Not any of these. I mean, research notes. So eventually, sort of stumbling into it, I don't want to say luckily, because that's not what that was. I want to say you identify the system that he uses for it, and even quicker than he can, you sort of do quick sequencing in your head to go, okay, if these are from this time and this from this time, it's right up there. And the two of you, pretty much at the same time for Everett as well, you guys both pull out this newspaper dated May 22nd, so about 2 weeks ago.
Oh.
Oh, here's my favorite part. The news presenter. Just got to drink up to get ready for... Everything's falling over. So you see the news report looks like this.
Nice.
Obviously it's backwards, so I can't see it. Kidnapped victim dies during police raid on occult ceremony. Pitched gun battle ends in multiple deaths. Early today, proceedings of a secretive Arkham religious group known as the Silver Knight were raided by local police, led by Detective Sergeant Patrick Devlin of the Arkham Police Department. The heavily armed force of men surrounded a wooded area several miles north of the city, then closed in. Authorities had been unaware of the cult's existence, but were tipped off to their activities by a former member of the group. When police arrived on the scene, members of the cult were apparently in the process of performing a black magic ritual. This shocking rite apparently was to include the brutal sacrifice of individuals. We keep these details away for our viewers. The readers would know that this is dangerous indeed. The kidnaps were unfortunately killed during the course of the raid. According to the officer Devlin, who was himself slightly injured in the battle, 12 cult members were killed, 2 captured, and 1 believed escaped. The woman who escaped is thought to have been the leader of the cult and is still at large. The public is warned that she may be armed and should be considered very dangerous. City Councilman Bradford Tibbins has assured the press that accusations of police brutality will be dealt with during the inquest scheduled by next week. Police have refused to divulge the identity of the deceased and captured cultist, pending further investigations.
Devlin.
Oh.
I remember his name.
Well, you don't suppose that your missing man might be one of the, unfortunate unnamed victims?
I don't think so. This was 2 weeks ago. So I believe that is when
He went
Andrew. Oh, he went missing?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, I thought they met 2 weeks ago.
Oh no, they met a long while ago, like months ago. He went missing 2 weeks.
Okay. That is very possible then. I think we must speak to this Detective Devlin. I have an inkling that maybe this woman on the run is indeed our Olga.
It does seem to be lining up. It's all a bit unfortunate. I was hoping they just eloped.
Never as simple as that.
This is turning out quite interesting. And kind of give a little hop of joy.
The hop kick. You sure you're not from the south?
Um,
Yeah.
get out of here. Okay. I'm trying to think what the next move should be for Ophelia. I feel like now that Devlin has been has been mentioned quite a couple of times, it might be. I'll ask it to the group. Do you think perhaps we should go to this Detective Devlin, or should we scour the Sailors Club? That was so south.
Actually, I can tell you this, what you'd know. It's reaching about 2, 3-ish in the afternoon. The Sailors Club and most speakeasies open at 11 o'clock at night.
Does anyone want to go for a nap?
Yes.
Don't say that I got a lot of problem with sleeping people right now.
I think this officer, what's his name, is quite a good next step if his name has come up multiple times.
I believe so too.
Alrighty. So just to give you guys context of the 20s, because you know we live in the modern day and these kinds of things weren't known to us. What's the internet? Back in those days, you guys had access to a few more areas of inquest. You had library, which tended to have very general bits of information and knowledge about weird goings on. You had the town hall records for anything in particular to find records on people. Police stations and the local journalism buildings. You could actually just walk into those, and if you had credible reason to ask about certain things, if it wasn't too sensitive, and if you rolled the right rolls to know someone or grease the wheels by being friendly enough, they'd actually just divulge information to you.
So, like my friend.
Potentially, if they're high up enough.
Also,
Well,
I'm not.
You should at least
I'm not versed
check.
with Call of Cthulhu. Do you split the party?
You can.
Never.
Nothing wrong with it. I will say this as a keeper. It is actually in all strengths of the game for the mystery and the noir feel to it that splitting the party is always a fun option. It leads to much more interesting scenarios. Like I've never run a situation where splitting the party wasn't more interesting. There are moments when you shouldn't, and you will know those ones very clearly. Like that one will be should we split up, guys? And you'll be like, no. So if it doesn't feel like there's ever a pressure of that movie trope of should we split the party, then you split the party. You could have someone go one place, you could have someone go another place. I'll let you in on this one because first investigation. As part of the roll me an idea check for this one, Ophelia.
It's me, and I'm rolling an idea check. Is that intelligence?
Yep.
Nice. Hard.
Oh.
So you remembered that they mentioned as well in the paperwork. This is sort of like coming back to you in little fragments. There was mention to the Arkham Museum of Arts and how she actually submitted some of her art pieces there and they were rejected. That sounds like you don't just do that as a freelancer, you tend to do that as a student.
Okay. I don't know. I don't want to make decisions for the group, so I'll announce.
You're the one who got the information given to you. This is you sort of putting it out there and saying where should we go.
I don't know. I'm split because I'm like it makes sense to go to the detective because he knows the most about pretty much everything that's connected so far.
Yeah. Another thing for a Call of Cthulhu investigation, there are multiple paths to potentially the same information.
Okay.
There are multiple paths that give you slightly different levels of information. Like some areas might give you something a bit more obscure or some colored detail that you might say, oh, let's look at that a bit harder kind of thing. And you might just sort of, ignore a lot of certain details. So every choice is a good choice. If it's a lead moving somewhere, follow it. option paralysis. I really want to put a game to you guys where all the options should be taken at all the time. No. Pick one and stick to it, because you'll more than likely follow the line, if that makes sense.
Scree. Okay.
Because there's nothing worse than
I
just a
think
game.
the detective would
Yeah.
have the most information and could tell us if he's dead or not, or if he's missing or not, or if he was there or not.
Let's do it. Let's go to the detective.
Excellent.
And
yet
he'll be
again,
in
'cause
office this
Arkham-
time of the day.
Arkham being the size that it is, yet again, quick walk over to the police station. Arkham Police Station is the best way I want to describe it is Batman's Arkham, like the almost Gotham style.
Yep.
There's very gothic features to this place. It's all marble stone, a lot of gargoyles just sort of like over the building. And there's just anarchy. There's people moving about. They're just grabbing a few people here and there. Mostly hobos, just about vagrants and squatters. They're just moving them around the station as you guys walk in.
Is it safe to say that I'm not sincerely well liked here?
The moment you walk in, you get a few faces.
I'll kind of nod and be like, Jimmy, nice to see you again. I will go to, I don't know if there's a secretary at all, or someone that I would be going straight to.
Just before we actually start this one, because there's like big information to this one, and looking at the time, I think might need to take a little break so I can go to the bathroom.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Let's do it.
Cool. All right.
It's break time. Go, guys, go.
We're good to go.
Okay, we're back.
So, cool.
Cool.
Jumping right back in at the Arkham Police Station. Gothic as all.
Cool.
Ophelia, this place is... Oh boy, how do I say this? No one here is quite liking you, because it's the 20s. There's a good chance that you might have, taken some people's work away from them with certain cases you perform.
Nice to see you as always, boys. I'm looking for a Detective Devlin.
One of them sort of like big cowboy hat just sort of brims it and like points over to the back area.
I will walk in that direction.
Alrighty. So you come to a door. It's glass. And it says Detective Sergeant Patrick Devlin.
You say it was an office?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it
These
a...
are like-
Like one of these stained glass thingies.
One that you can't really see into. Come in.
I'll walk myself in. Good afternoon, Officer Devlin. I'm Ophelia. You may have heard of me.
Sorry, 1 second.
There you go. He's just so starstruck by me. I'm so cool.
Sorry, guys. Internet. It's not just Patrick in the room. There's another detective in the room, and he looks sour. You recognize this guy as Detective Flanagan. He's got a big Cuban cigar, big hat, and he's got the face like... And he literally just like, as you go to announce yourself, he says, "What's she doing in here?" If I had my right mind about myself, and he takes the cigar out, starts walking over to you, I'd see you kicked out. And then Patrick cuts him off and says, "Do you want to say that again to the woman who did your job for you?" And he sort of turns around, looks at Patrick, and says, "That right there, that's someone that gets something done. I can't say the same about you, Flanagan. Now get out of my frickin' office."
Snaps for
right.
Devlin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ophelia, I know you by reputation. Take a seat. And I'm assuming these are your associates.
Yes, of course. Sorry for my rudeness. This is. Are you a professor, Everett?
Yeah, I'm a professor.
Yeah. Okay. This is Professor
I don't have
Everett
my
Grimm
doctorate yet.
and
Professor
Dr. Tobias Beck.
He puts a hand out and says, Patrick Devlin, pleasure to meet you. Can I interest you in a
Yes,
drink
that's
of
right.
any kind?
Whiskey.
In Prohibition era.
I'm fine for now. Thank you, boys.
Oh no, I'm fine.
Thank you very much.
Goes over and, like, funny enough, looked up on the ruling on this one. If it was from private selections, as in Boltwood before they brought out Prohibition stuff, you were allowed to technically still serve it to yourself. So not breaking the law when he goes to his private case of 20-year-old scotch and starts pouring.
My goodness, Patrick, if you had said that you had the finer stuff, I would have asked for it.
Well, I've got another glass ready to go if you want one.
I'll always take one.
Pours out a little bit for you and just passes over. Be careful, that's some strong stuff.
Oh, down it, no.
Roll me a constitution. Even the smell of it, you're just like...
I'll take a little palatable sip and I'll
Yeah,
pop it down. Oh, really? Dang.
20-year-old Irish scotch. This is strong.
I got constitution. We good? I told you I could have downed it.
You take to the sip. It is smooth. Do you want to continue to drink?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With an extreme, I'm gonna down it. I am showing off.
He looks at you. Let's see what he does, actually. Let's check. I'm interested to see what he does. He looks at you and he goes, "You just keep impressing me every day." Well, take a seat. What can I help you with? And he sits back down at his desk. He's got paperwork here and there. And you can actually see he's got a shirt on. This guy is almost like a crew cut. Like a crew cut that would have just grown out a bit longer. Widow's peak starting to show up. He's got a very thick jawline that's just almost a square. His clothing is not containing him. It is one size too small. Either that or he's one size too big of a human. He's just big, muscly Irish dude. If he's standing tall, he sits at about 6'2". He's not wearing a jacket though. He's only got shirt on, and you recognize that you see, for the doctor, you see that he's got underneath his shirt bandages. That sort of bulk of something underneath the shirt. And you can kind of see as well when he walks over with the drinks, he's very careful not to overextend. So what can I help you with?
Well, my associates and I, we have come across a case that I believe you are also involved in.
What case would that be?
The case of Andrew, was it Kipping? Keating.
Keetling. Keatling.
Andrew Keatling.
Andrew Keatling. Well, that's a case open and shut right there. He's buggered off with some other missus down the coastline, don't you think? Businessman like him, good money, family fortune. He's in his, late 20s? Of course he's moved on with other things.
Well, we've come across some perhaps damning evidence that says to the contrary.
Oh, and what evidence might this be?
Well, it's pertaining, perhaps, the Sylvan Knight.
When you say that, he's got the glass sort of like this, and he's about to take another drink, and he stops. And he puts it down very slowly. He says, "Now, what's that got to do with that?" He looks very serious.
I'm gonna take a leap of faith with no evidence to back it up whatsoever, and I'm just gonna say, I have evidence that says that perhaps the hussy that Andrew was courting, shall we say, was part of the Silver Knight, and may perhaps be your missing woman.
You're good. I'll give you that. Her name is Olga.
And then I'll say her last name.
And he goes, now you're getting me impressed. You got to stop doing that. You can only impress me a couple of times a day. Now you're starting to get on. You're not getting on my nerves. That's one thing. That's Flanagan's job out there. What do you want to know? And like you see him lean back into his chair, and he relaxes a lot more.
Well, I suppose that started the beginning.
We got an anonymous tip about the group. Individual coming to us, telling us of their weird practices in the forests. It's hard to really go over, but they kept telling us about this one night. They called it the Silver Night, and that this was their night of nights. Sorry, one second, my cat's just quick. He loves pencils, but they make a lot of noise. Everybody roll me psychology or psychoanalysis, probably. As you look upon the sky, as he goes into this sort of speech and things.
Do I have to do psychoanalysis, or can I do psychology?
Psychology, most likely.
Oh, didn't matter anyway. Whatever.
Ouch. For the doctor, you see that this is still fresh for him, like it was only 2 weeks ago. If he was there on the scene, then he saw what was, told to the newspapers. That kind of stuff tends to stick with you a little bit. He's a police officer, a detective, but you get the feeling what he saw there shook him a little harder than he was expecting to be shook. Police reports that we gave to the papers. We gave what we could about the situation. Obviously, we kept names out to keep people safe and to make sure people weren't pointing the finger at the wrong people, especially given this lady's heritage. But I think this has got something to do with Andrew.
Yes, she was, it seems, quite involved with him. They seem to know each other very well, and, well, he spent an awful lot of money on him, or on her.
Interesting. Well, something we didn't quite tell the papers was that our informant, they survived. They stuck with us. They actually helped us on the night to identify who was the right people to be shooting at. A lot of my boys, it's a bit of a mix-up in the papers. You see, we didn't really give the full story. The altercation was a bit strange. There wasn't really a gunfight. We got there, and my boys started shooting because they started seeing things they really didn't want to see. Southern again. When you come into a room with people chanting and saying these words over and over, and the rhythmic nature of it, and the fact that they all just took to their throats with a knife and cut side to side. And when we came to the bodies themselves, my boys, they had to go for a firefight. They grabbed 2 of them and stopped them from performing this ritual. But the others, we didn't see anything wrong with them when we started, but when we got to them, every one of them, bite marks, all across the faces. When we grabbed the 2 that we did, one of them gave a bite to me, right here. Olga, she got away. Wasn't quick enough to grab her. Everybody roll me sanity.
No!
Because that's messed up.
Oh my god. I'm not surprised at all, but...
Oh,
Oh, whatever, Everett.
Yeah.
So for you two, that's going to be 1 point of damage. Everett, it's secondhand being told to you. You're able to like steel yourself to the situation.
Well, and I'm sure he's read all sorts about horrifying ancient rituals, you know?
You were literally reading about one just earlier today.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, the picture that you saw in your book,
Mhm.
now that you think back to it, it showed an image of not done by self, but the torturous method had an ending point of someone going knife to knife, side to side.
Ooh. Okay, that definitely piques his interest. This is my book that is in French, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that too.
Yep, with your extreme success on spot hidden. And he looks to you and says, "Look, if I give you this information, you got to promise me that this doesn't get out, all right? I don't want no journalism jumping on this poor girl because she's seen the worst of it already."
I don't make acquaintances with the paparazzi. They don't seem to like me just as much as they seem to like stories like that.
That's good. All right. He pulls out a piece of paper and starts scribbling down an address. He says, "If you want the full case, this was Olga's best friend. Her name's Andrea Pendragon. She goes by the name a bit differently today. We've given her a place to stay, and she's under the pseudonym Moira Smith. Now, right now, that is you, and me as the only people that know this. Understood?"
Of course, my associates can't be trusted.
All right. If you want to know anything more about Olga, you're going to have to talk to her. She was the one that told us about the ritual and pointed her out to us as the ringleader. So, that's all I have to offer, really. That's all I know. We kept sensitive details out of the paper to avoid hysteria. But you see things on nights like that, and they don't go away. To think that people are so infatuated with someone to focus so hard and to not let it go and just do that to themselves, it's barbaric.
Detective.
Peep.
Do you happen to speak French? Read French?
Let me check on his stats.
You know, there's French
I'm gonna
Irish
laugh so
everywhere.
hard. Yeah, those French
Well,
Irish.
yeah, they're so close to France, you know, maybe.
His mother might be French. Just gotta check to see his stats.
French Irish are called Bretons.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know? He might have had a fancy with some French ladies and wanted to know them better. Andrea, Roger. Would you look at that?
No.
Education. I need to make a few rolls quickly because he might actually have French.
Goodness.
Okay.
It's your lucky day, Everett.
Oh my god!
What?
He's fluent.
He's got 57% in it.
Incredible.
Don't know where from, but
He had a French neighbor.
oh, Patrick, you're learning things. Oh, every day. But yeah, he says, mother was French.
A bit of an odd one, only, I have this book, and Everett, you know, kind of pulls it out of... He's just holding it. He's just carrying a book.
Just carrying this random almanac just to someone.
Yeah. This, like, ancient book that was penned, you know, what, 6 centuries ago? He's just carrying it around.
The word that you'd use for this is a codex, because it's most likely the only printer.
Yeah, so just extremely reckless behavior with this extremely valuable book. It's
Mhm,
fine.
mhm.
And they wonder why
But
things are going
he-
missing at the university.
Sorry for ever
Listen,
calling
it's
Everett
not
Square.
me. I'm just an idiot. It's fine. No, but he sort of holds up the book and he goes, only well, I can't, but I can. Well, would you just the ritual you described? I think it could be in this book. Could you just confirm that for me? It referenced the picture.
Oh my god.
And he just he opens it up to the picture and just puts the book on the desk and he's curious. He just wants to know if it ties together.
Is that an extreme
Okay.
success?
That's an extreme
Should be.
Amazing.
Here's my favorite part. Oh, this is beautiful. He reads the page. He needs to roll.
No.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
This poor detective.
Oh no. Oh, that's bad.
Oh, I messed
Oh,
up this
no.
poor detective.
He was so nice. Oh my god.
no.
Is that
Oh no.
Oh my god.
I messed
Broke
up
the
this
detective.
I killed him. Oh no.
Oh, he
To be
did.
fair, I pressed the wrong number. I wasn't supposed to say D10 on that one, but I just laughed that it came up.
Oh heck. What?
There we go. D14. That's a die. That's better.
Okay. Alright, okay.
Like the information there is not that shocking to me. It's still very disturbing because like you see him just like mulling over this and like whispering like bits in French and stuff, and he's like reading, and then he stops whispering, and then his face just sort of turns a little and looks over it, keeps reading. He's like, "Where did you get this?"
I'm a professor. It was something, one of my colleagues gave me to look over on a whim.
He turns around the book, pulls it over to you, says, "That phrase right there,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they were saying on that night.
Oh?
It's not in French, it's phonetic, it's Greek.
Oh, I speak Greek.
It's Greek phonetics. It's and he just sort of like says the phrase out.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it just says yaton hypnon. He just says that over and over and over.
That's embarrassing.
Cool. To be fair, you get like the bits of it because it's like the first two is literally like very basic words. The second one, the third one, you're not sure. Roll me an idea.
Sure.
Cool. You get the feeling that the third word is either some kind of proper noun or maybe a name. Not sure
Okay.
how it kind of translates to English, but just hypnon is the word that kicks to you. Direct translated though would be for hypnon.
Okay.
And he looks over the French and he says, "This is someone in France, well, Franco, not quite French, like Middle Ages time, talking about a ritual they found from the Greeks." This is them describing the practices they found on these weird islands. And this picture here, and he points at the picture, he says, "This looks like first-hand account, but it looks like it's not. It looks disturbing." And straight away for you, Doctor, that clicks up to your mind of this writing was done at one point. The picture was then added thereafter. For the picture to be added thereafter, it means they must have actually seen it themselves because there's no other mention to this actually happening this way. Either it's an artist representation of what's in the writing, or someone years later saw this and then drew it.
This seems like it has been added later.
And when you say that, that's
So-
when he starts squinting a bit heavier, like, "That's concerning." And he just sort of like pushes the book back over to you, Professor, and he goes, "That's enough of that for me for today. You sure you don't want a drink? I'm just gonna get another drink.
Oh, yes, it all does tie together a bit disturbingly.
So what he basically explains to you is that this is the French description, a recollection of a Greek
Yeah.
cult.
Yeah.
So, like, that's all he wants to read from it, basically.
Okay. It didn't reference a specific region in Greece, did it?
Says the Greeks.
Interesting.
In fact, it doesn't even really say the Greeks. It just, like, it's Greek wording there, but that's not... Doesn't even say Greece, because Greece wasn't really a word back then. It's just Hellenic.
Okay.
And that's just like the congregation of all the Greek states is just Hellenic. Or
Well,
Hellenic,
that's
technically.
Bit of a stroke of luck, and Everett kind of looks over at Ophelia. That your detective here spoke French.
Don't make me roll you luck for next time, Jesus.
Yes, I
As
believe.
figure of speech, Jared, please.
Next time, roll all the luck checks.
Everything seems to be coming along quite interesting. Thank you.
And he actually, like, yeah, he'll sort of like turn around and say, like, well, hope that's a helping hand.
I sincerely appreciate all of your generous help, Detective Delaney. Doctor, would you care to maybe, if you agree, Detective Delaney, would you like to look at this bite mark that you attained on that night?
Roll me a charm check.
Come on, charm.
Heyo.
He's been, like, you're being cordial with him, you're being sincere. He responds to that quite nicely. He looks at his arm. You see the hesitation straight away, but then he thinks, what the hell? Starts with... And the bandages have been reset a few times now. Like, they're clean. You'd assume if this was like 2 weeks ago, unless it was infected, the bandages are like superficial at this point, really. So
how does it look?
Roll me a better.
Success.
Heck yes.
Nice. Would that be... Yeah, roll me a sanity.
Oh no. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. Hard success.
Heck
Nice.
yes.
It's possible that this could happen this way. You know, you've seen weirder things. He pulls it back and he shows you teeth marks, like, dug into his shoulder. And, you know, standard bite, it's pretty deep in. Like, this person must have gone, like, ham onto him to, like, bite down this deep. Like, knowing of the medicine, you get the feeling that if this person was doing this, it was most likely like a rigor mortis lockjaw. Like, that's the level of strength you'd need to do something like this. The only reason he's probably still got his arm the way he does is because he's got musculature to him. He's got thick, like, you would assume, like, this kind of arms from, like, sailor or fisherman style of, like, constantly working with the ropes on the docks and stuff. You know, might have done that before he became a detective, because he's in his, like, 50s at this point, and he's still looking the physique of, like, a 30-year-old. Thing that catches your attention. You're not a dentist, you're a doctor, but you do, you know bits and pieces of the anatomy. The canines are in the wrong place. The molars have all come forward, and the canines are positioned 3 sets back.
What?
The sanity check to you just tells you that's weird, not impossible. This person must have been in a lot of pain to be, you know, trying to live like that. They'd have to basically eat meat at the middle part of their jaw and do this if they wanted to, like, chew down on anything tougher than vegetation. But, you know, genetic variance, it's possible, just very unlikely.
Do any of your colleagues have similar bites?
No. I was the one that got bit.
By a human.
Yes.
Those are very
It was one of
particular
the-
teeth marks.
Well, that was one of the people we grabbed. Part of the circle.
Did he survive?
Yeah, he's currently at Arkham Asylum. He's definitely insane.
Does the wound look somewhat okay? Or does it look like I should send him to an
Oh no,
to a
whoever they
hospital?
got on him, they got there quick. There's no sign of like gangrene, there's no infection. It's healed up pretty nicely. It's gonna leave a mighty scar because, just dug pretty deep, but again, like you've seen these injuries before, the fact that he's got such musculature is the only reason it's not doing anything worse to him right now beyond just a really deep scar.
You should be fine. We'll leave quite a good mark, but you should be fine.
Bout of scars. And he pulls down his shirt again. And this time he just takes the bandages off. He's like, well, if the doctor's looked at it now, it's like, eh. Well, doctor, professor, Ophelia, pleasure to meet you too, and pleasure to finally meet someone who gets work done for a change.
I appreciate the sentiment, Detective. And again, I'll write down my number on a piece of paper and pass it to him. If you ever come up with any more evidence or any interesting facts, I'll be on the other line, and I'll give him a little wink.
He sort of like smiles at that, and he says, "If you're ever out there, there's a boy of mine. I've got him on the case for Olga. He's got nothing coming to him. His name is Roger Cross."
Roger Cross.
He was the one I was sending out there trying to look for things. He kept mentioning something about Sailors Club, but that's about it, really.
Sailors Club. Interesting. Well, I thank you very much for your assistance in this endeavor, and I wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you. If you don't mind, I got some paperwork to get back to.
Of course. And I'll motion for the boys to get out. Go, go, go.
When we leave, I still wanna drop my business card on his desk for those pictures you can't forget.
Looks at it, and as you sort of walk out, like he doesn't even say anything, he just looks at the card intently. And as you guys walk out, you see him just go there and quick, just long, holding the card, not dropping it, through the silhouette of the glass, you can see him walk over to his desk again and just do this. And eventually you guys walk outside. Flanagan looks furious. He's looking right at you, Ophelia, with a cigarette like this. He's like,
You have yourself a
doing that.
wonderful day, Flanagan. And I'll just walk out.
He squints harder. He doesn't say anything. He just you can hear his teeth grinding as you walk up.
I'll turn to the guys and be like, I do love aggravating small-minded men. And then be like, okay, we've got a lot of things to discover. So much more information. And I think she's super happy. This is a case that is actually really intriguing her and making her, and it's nice because she's getting leads that will lead to leads, and she's very pleased about it.
The way that I work this as well with the sort of the nature of this investigation and other adventures thereafter, it's kind of working right now with what I've written that everyone will sort of have like a focus episode. This one, clearly is yours. There's other things attaching you guys to this as well, but Ophelia is kind of the driving force on this one.
Sounds guys.
But, the next ones are going to be
that's
interesting for you guys.
okay.
Cool. All right, so you've got some time before Speakeasy. The sun is very clearly coming down at this point. anything else you guys want to do before getting ready for a fun night at the speakeasy?
I think actually Ophelia would turn to the guys and say, "Now, we've come across some unsightly things so far, and I have a feeling that it's only going to get worse from here. I would possibly offer this as a time to disengage yourselves if you don't feel like you want to continue."
No, quite to the contrary. I was going to see if I could do a lot more research and see if I could find this, what was it, Ipsum?
Hypnon.
Hypnon.
Ah, yes. Well, it would help if I knew the word I was looking for, wouldn't it? Yes. No, I'm far too intrigued by this, the connections between my book and your case, and I frankly don't think we could carry on without the other. I think I'm sticking with you for sure.
That is fantastic.
So
Doctor?
here's where we have a...
Sorry.
Continue.
And I'll look at the doctor.
This is far more intriguing than anything that I've seen here so far.
Wonderful. And then I'll continue trotting along in my little kitten heels.
So, we've got a cool situation now. You guys can, as we say, split the party and start doing some independent roles as a sort of combined effort of research. It would be, the professor rolls this and they go here and they might find this. The doctor goes here, he rolls this, he might find that. Ophelia goes here, she rolls this, she might find that. Obviously, for the professor, it's pretty obvious. You're going to go to the library and look up this stuff. What do you two want to be doing as a sort of, think of this like a downtime activity that you guys are splitting to get information and then come back later at a rendezvous point, which, let's face it, it's gonna be the freaking cafe shop. 24/7. The only 24/7 cafe in all of New England. 24/7 because it's meant to be.
I mean, I feel like Ophelia would immediately go to visit. Is it Angela Pendragon / Myra Smith?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's really interesting. So I don't want to. I don't want to just let people not be there.
You could probably look into the museum.
Yes.
Get some roles going on there.
Cool. Yes.
What about you, Doctor? What would you like to look into?
Well, after she said that, I kind of want to go and get my field medic back because I don't trust the situation anymore.
You could also go to the psychiatric ward.
Oh, God.
Or don't. That's scary.
No, I know that face. I know what that's about. It's just he walks to the streets and just gives a long sigh, like.
I mean, I definitely need to give one of my contacts a ring because of this sleeping disease thing. Let me look who would.
Alrighty. So while you're looking up that, Professor, would you like to roll for me a library use check with a bonus dice? Because you ready?
Yeah, I'm also thinking Everett would probably have contacts in the museum if we wanted to save that for something that he could do with Ophelia or like instead. But I feel like he's very interested in the book right now. But just as a thought, he probably does have people at the museum.
Okay.
Seeing as he's an archaeologist, I just feel like it makes sense.
You could probably
and a professor,
You could do the good thing of putting the word in by saying, Ophelia, I've got these people I know at the museum. Put in my name, and they'll probably let you in.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
He would pass that along then.
So roll me that check.
Yeah.
Oof.
How?
Woof.
How? I'm
Ouch.
upset.
You failed at sciencing.
Yep. So
I failed at getting a book. You gave me a +1, right?
Yep.
Phoebe's like,
Is
could you
this
make it a
where I
+2?
No, is this where I could use 1 point of luck to make it a success?
So what's happened here
I
is
forget how
that
the mechanic works. I'm sorry.
yeah. Let's see what these dice rolls are. So the better success was 84. So to get this to work, you'd either have to push the roll to get a reroll to sort of describe to me what exactly you're looking for, like how you're doing it in a more, like in a different way, basically. Or you can spend 14 points of luck to succeed, which is...
Oh, it would have to be 14, not... Okay, I'm confused by the +1, +2.
Okay, so
Is
what the
that
dice is showing...
not, like, numerically?
So the +1, what that's telling you is they've rolled the percentile twice, and they've taken the better of the two, the lower of the two.
Okay.
The numbers is 84 and 89,
Right.
which is the regular roll that you made, and the bonus one was pretty close to the same, still a failure. But the 2 bonus dice ended up being 54, which is under your skill. So if you had 2 bonus dice, that dice would have showed up 54.
I
But
was
that
thinking,
didn't
I'm
exist.
sorry. I was thinking of this as like a +1, like towards a roll, not like re-rolling a die. So I was confused on the mechanic.
Yeah. They when I
just-
first looked at this, it's like, I don't get this at all. And then it clicked. I'm like, oh, that's what it means. So, yeah. So effectively, like, pretty unluckily, with 70% chance to succeed, with effectively D&D 5e advantage, you failed the roll. That's what's happened here.
Tragic. But that's the way that it goes, and that's fine.
So like, it's 14 luck. If you hadn't had the bonus dice, it would have been 19 luck.
Right.
Or you can push the roll.
No,
Pushing
that's
rolls,
fine.
or you could
I'll take the L.
Okay. Failure on this one with a library use check is basically just more time gets used up. Like, it takes a long while to catalog through this stuff, and eventually you come to like sections on what you might find for this stuff. So just for me, just roll a Greek check. Like, this is sort of, if you would have found it before this, like if you fail this as well, it's just more time. Hey.
Yay.
So as you're sort of looking through, that sort of augments the first roll. Like, you're looking through, you're not sure what you're looking for, and then the word sort of comes back to you a bit more, and you're like, if that was a name, then I probably want to look for these specific sections in the Greek section, especially like ancient Greek. You find the catalog going through, that the book that you're looking for is not here. It is in Robert Gallagher's collection.
Oh, well, that's a bit handy. Yeah, I would just. Although I suppose, what time of day is it? Is he still in office?
Oh yeah, he stays late. Like, ever since the event, he pretty much stays in his office more than he does at his house these days.
Okay. Well then, yeah, he'll just go knock on Gallagher's door.
Knock on the door. He sort of comes up and says, "Ah, Everett, come in."
Thank you. I've found some interesting connections through this, the one tome that you gave me, the French one that I can't read.
Yeah, I was wondering why you took that with you, but all good.
I wonder if I could have another book that's in your collection, and he would.
How about this?
Ask for
We'll
that specific book.
trade for it if you give back the codex.
I suppose it is a bit reckless to be carrying this around willy-nilly.
It'd be one thing to lose one book, it'd be another to lose two.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you.
Cool. So he, like, you say the title, he walks up, he's got one of those bookshelves where you go up the ladder and you can like slide around kind of thing.
Damn,
It's like
that's
a
sexy.
semicircle. And he goes all the way up and like reaches over and like grabs one and then slides down and puts it up to you.
I think Everett doesn't hesitate. He like walks over to like a spare chair or something and plops down and just right in Gallagher's office is looking.
He's got one of those magnifying tables where it's just like this big Oculus like lens just to sort of help you see down so you don't have to like strain your eyes at like finer details and things. It just blows up the picture like 3 times in your face. So it was a successful Greek check. Looking through this book, it takes you about 20-30 minutes when you finally find a derivation of that word, or at least because you heard it phonetically, you didn't see it written down.
Right.
It's not hypnon, it's hypnos.
Hypnos, okay.
Which is the Greek word for hypnos, which is the god of sleep.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Which is where they
Very
derive the word
interesting.
hypnotism by putting someone into a sleeping state.
Scree.
Okay.
So that's what you find from that book.
Very interesting. I suppose I don't see anything that relates it specifically to a cult. That was more so in the French book.
See, here's the fun part. The reason he has this book is that this is one of the only ones that, coming from the excavation on Crete, this is one of the books that he kept in his collection, holding to it really hard, because it was one of the ones that wasn't stolen 8 months ago. And it mentions how there was a lot of weird worshippings of different gods that even contemporary Greek gods wouldn't really identify with these types of gods. They were a lot more Babylonian in their design. But this book mentions how around a couple thousand years BC, around the sort of Trojan era, there's an emergence of these people on the island that held to this one cult. And they mention the workings of hypnos. The one thing that this book goes into very sparse detail is that it's like, they came along, this is what they did, like not even in detail, just they did their practices and then disappeared.
Interesting. Okay. So given the amount of time that this has taken so far, how much do I have before it's time for me to meet back up with the others to go to the club?
Probably about an hour or two, because you took a while in the library.
Yeah.
On the benefit, though, you read through an occult book and succeeded really well in your Greek check, so you gained 2 points of occult.
Oh, that's exciting. I need to... Wait, isn't that... Oh, I was thinking of Cthulhu mythos. Okay. I was gonna say, didn't you just curse me and take away some of my sanity? No, we're good. Okay.
So let's go over to the doctor.
Yeah.
I would ring Alex, Professor Alex. Ward, was that?
Right, or... Yeah, Warden.
Warden. Because I want to give him access to these weird sleeping cases, because he seems to be the one who would be very interested in these weird sleeping cases.
Very excited.
And then if you can also make a contact to Arkham Asylum in some way.
Describe to me what you're sort of wanting him to...
Just if he knows somebody there, and if he thinks we could just go and see a patient there, or if we would be maybe running against some sort of restrictions.
With his sort of... He greases the wheel of a lot of people. He also grinds the gears of a lot of others. Because of that, he calls up a few people and he gets himself... you ask by name for certain individuals, and although you don't have a name attached to this person, they can figure out, yeah, it's the person from that case 2 weeks ago. Thankfully, he's got the right people in the right place that he can get basically an interview with this person. Not too long, just after visiting hours. So you've got about half an hour-ish to get over there. He literally comes over to you and he goes like, exciting, very exciting. Let's get moving. This is definitely something we need to look into right now. Let's get going. Yes. And he picks up his case and just starts walking without you, basically.
I'll follow him.
Excellent. So, we come to Arkham Asylum. Old manor house, nearly a mansion converted into a building site for the criminally insane. All of the strongest cases of the best in the world are in this building and facility doing their magics, trying to fix these people any way they can. Because of that, a lot of them get a reputation that if you mess with them, that's it. They just don't let you in. There is a little bit of hesitation when you guys get to the reception. A couple of people are like, oh, this person shouldn't be here. Should he be there? No, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. And then a person calls out a voice over to you guys. And they say,
Good that we're both doctors.
Doctor, Professor, this way. And they sort of walk you through the office way. And they say, best that you know that this particular individual is currently catatonic. Not really going to get much out of him. He basically doesn't spend much of his time doing anything, really. We have to look after him in all manner of things. But there is lucidity a couple of hours of the night. Sometimes it's screaming, sometimes it's singing, sometimes it's just babbling. But I leave that to you to see what you might come out of this case.
Do you feed him?
Shower, feed, make sure he's still looked after. He's responsible to feeding.
Have you noticed anything about his teeth?
Person looks at you very confused, like, no, we just get the orderlies to feed him. He needs a bit of force to... Should that we be concerned about his teeth?
I found something unusual in the bite marks of his on an unfortunate police officer.
When you say that, both the professor and this sort of like... I guess it's a... Yeah, it's a nurse. The nurse sort of looks at you like, oh, goodness me. Oh, right this way. And they take you in, they open the door. In one of those big-ass... He's just sitting there and looking out the window. This time, and it's getting like past twilight at this point. Suns are very well and truly set. And he's just sort of looking outside. And yet again, you saw this before, you heard this before. You see little mumblings from this person.
I'll go closer and try to listen to the mumblings.
Roll it.
What?
Are you taking me?
No.
Roll what?
How much longer you gonna wait?
Listen check.
I'm so tired. I'm going to
Go sleep then.
bed.
Okay, I can help you to bed.
Oh,
Obviously.
Okay.
That's fair.
Do you want to go now?
No.
Spend 38 points of luck.
No.
It would be easier if you went now.
Here's the thing. You can push that roll if you
No,
wish
it's
to
okay.
get.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm actually gonna do that, even though it's not gonna work. And this is how I got bit.
Yeah, funny you should.
Nice
Would you like to roll me a dodge check?
Sure. I don't know.
Oh no!
Oh boy.
Yikes.
Fair.
This went totally different than what I expected.
Okay. So,
No, Gingy, it's not really quick.
this is happening, I guess. Where's my...
Yeah, but I have to like pee and get. Ow! Okay. Pull.
Alrighty. So, you take...
I'll find it.
Oh, this is gonna hurt. You're gonna take 3 points of damage as he's mumbling. You listen carefully. His face lurches forwards, and not even with canines, but with molars, he grinds down and locks onto your ear. With a fumble, you pull away and he comes with you, and the weight of him drags you to the ground, and you just go slam, and he's just locking on, and you just hear him through gritted teeth saying, "No sleep, no sleep, no sleep."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Audley's gonna rush the hell over and just start like not because let's face it, it's the 20s. He's not thinking. He's just beating this guy to get him off you, basically. He's just like grabs him by the teeth, unlocks the jaw, and just like grabs him and shoves him back into the chair. Like the nurse is like like freaking out, and they're like calling for the doctors at this point. And like Professor looks at you like, we should leave.
First I scream, then I fall to the ground, then I get up and put something on the bleeding ear.
Roll me first aid check.
I'm good at that.
Thank goodness.
So with assistance by the fact that you're in, a hospital, you're able to easily get yourself some like stuff to clean up the wound and dress it up a little bit. Not too fancy, like you recover one. He's laughing his head off, and with a big open smile with blood coming out, mostly yours, you see it. Canines in the wrong place. Molars all out the front.
God damn it! I knew it.
And it's like, what is this? This one, the teeth one? Is this the one you talking about?
Yes.
He looks over to him. It's like, and this is where things get fun. He sort of looks at you and says, and he whispers to you, "I got an idea. Orderly, I think you might need to go get those doctors pretty quickly. I think we're going to need a full case team on this one." It's like, yeah, good point. Look after him. I'll be right back. And he just sort of walks out. And like before he does this, walks back in. He gets like handcuffs, not like quite police handcuffs, but just straps him down to the wood because they've got clamps underneath that, so he can't really get out from now. They should have been on there in the first place, but catatonia. He just rushes off, and Arden looks at you and says, "We've got about 4 minutes."
Let's go then.
All right, roll me a hypnotism.
I'm
Success.
sorry, what?
So, the two of them start getting to work, pulling out ephemera and objects to start inducing a hypnotic trance in this man. Describe to me what this looks like on your side of things.
On my side, I wind up a watch, and I hold it in his. Since is he semi-catatonic again, or?
No, he's laughing and like he's just like, and he's just hysterical at this point.
I wind up a watch, and it starts like a stopwatch, just running through. And I hold it in front of him, and I go, "Would you do me a favor and relax? Look at the watch and relax." And now count back from 10. 10,
Veka,
9,
Enea,
8,
Ochto,
7,
Efta,
6,
6,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Ena.
0.
Time. Dreams. Time. And he sort of trails off a bit with that, and he just sort of like opens his jaw. What do you want to ask him?
What was the cult trying to do? What was this ritual?
Lost dreams, hidden out there. Find him. Bring him back.
Bring who back?
Hypnos.
Oh my god.
What can you tell me about Olga?
Found the gem. Opened the gate to minds, dreams, visions.
She would go.
Leader.
To the leader? Who is that?
She leads dreams first to dream bigger. You can see now blood to the side of his mouth, and his jaw is like not extending, but like he's just going a lot more slack with each word. He's like going numb in the face. It looks like he's putting a lot of force just to talk. You reckon you've got another question or two before the minutes run out?
Did the cult have any other places?
Dreams.
Any churches?
Dreams reach far. Dreams. Time. Eternal.
I look at Alex, if he still has something, and otherwise I say, we should. I don't think we get anything else out of him.
Good enough for me. Let's get out of here. He sort of like grabs his stuff and he gets moving.
Yep, same.
So you guys sort of walk, and you're about to walk out. The orderly's about to walk in. And Alex walks over and goes, and he snaps out of it. Roll me a sanity check.
I was expecting that. This can't be possible.
Oh no. Oh my.
So, with a fumble.
It's the revenge for all my extreme successes.
Yeah, pretty much. And this is the time that would happen. A fumble, given the fact that that was the most intense hypnotic like episode you've ever seen, and the fact that this dude, was talking to you through the blood that was on your ear. No roll, max damage, 4 points of sanity damage.
May.
Oh my god.
The two of you rush as quickly as you can out. As you're walking, you sort of touching to your ear, and you're thinking, the mouth that was speaking to me just bit at my goddamn ear, and you're like not thinking, shaking. You literally pass by people. Alex has to like grease the wheels a little bit with the people walking out, but you're just walking out of here like, nah, not here. I'm out of here. I'm just out of here.
Heck.
And we return to Ophelia.
It's me.
Jeez.
With help from the professor's contacts, you have a couple of people at the museum you could look into if you wish to, or somewhere else.
No, let's do the museum. Let's have a look.
Okay. With a bonus dice, roll me a charm check.
No, sorry. Wrong one.
Oh no.
Oh!
Yo!
Dang.
I gotta find the paperwork on this. Jeez.
Also, I love the fact that with -2 dice, I got a fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. 100.
Heck.
And you know what's the best
Our
thing?
rolls, man.
Yeah, if you had -2 dice, so because your skill is over 50, the only way you could have fumbled is within 100.
Dang.
So
That was a hard fumble. But
that's
don't
a
matter.
bad fumble.
I got an extreme.
Nice. All right. why did I put? I go to the page and then I take the page away. I do this all the time. I'm playing like other games with like I've got the players' like handbooks and the keepers' books, and I open the page and I go, all right, you guys are dealing with this, and then I close the book and I go,
Wait.
I'm an idiot. Alright, so, funnily enough, you find some information.
Woohoo!
There's a lady here. Her name is... Where is she? Madeline Dumont. With some rapport between her and you, just sort of like speed this along because you got freaking extreme success. You two get along like a house on fire. It's just night and day. She's very similar to your sort of stylings and sensibilities. She's a bit of a sleuth herself because she works, in a museum. And the two of you sort of share a couple of stories here and there, and eventually you get to talking, and you come across the name Olga, and she actually takes you to some of the paperwork and shows you like how she came to this place. 2 years ago, she came here as a student, 18 years old, and 2 years thereafter graduated and producing pieces of art for the museum. None of them got put to the museum because, that old chestnut. But she makes mention to say that she was always a bit of a weird one. She was really intense. Like, if you spoke to her long enough, she just started getting creepy weird.
Yep.
But the cool thing that she mentions, and you sort of see this because, extreme charm check, she then mentions Andrew.
Ooh.
And she mentions how Andrew used to come around here a lot, especially when Olga was doing her art. Cool thing about it, though, is that you spot a hint of jealousy when Madeline is talking about Andrew, specifically Andrew and Olga. She sort of continues to talk about how Andrew started shifting as a person, because he actually had a fascination in the museum. He came here and met her through here. He had met Madeline, and then through Madeline met Olga, like not being like, oh, this is my friend Olga. It was more just sort of showed up one day. He changed quite a lot. Her guess is drugs.
Okay.
Because the two of them spoke a lot about going to the Sailors Club together and catching up with those weird, crowded, like, artsy individuals and stuff.
Those damn artsies.
Yep. Yep. The one thing you sort of get from her, because she's done a bit of digging herself, is that she knows that Olga is not from Arkham normally. She's actually from Vermont. So her family is not from here. She actually moved to the city to get her work done with her art pieces. For a while there, she was struggling, like most people trying to become an artist and moving to a new town to live their artwork. But then Andrew comes along, and lo and behold, look at this rich boy paying for a lot of the stuff. And Madeline, you can really see the look of like... You see that look in her face of she wouldn't have cared about the money. She, like, it's a bonus, for sure, but she's pissed off that not only does she not get the guy is then throwing money at a girl that she really doesn't think deserved it.
Okay.
And that's what you find at the museum. Cat attacking.
Okay. In the end, I think I've kind of got as much as I can from Madeline, right?
Yeah, and this is, with the extreme success, it takes a good chunk of time because you're like building a rapport, and she literally takes you into archives for this stuff. She shows you records of like where she came from, names, age, all that stuff. Olga's probably like 20, 21, not too old.
Okay.
Whereas David was in his late 20s.
Okay. I'll pull out a timepiece from my coat and I'll say, oh my goodness, is that the time? Maddie, you have just been swell. Now, if you find anything else out, being the keen sleuth that you are, You contact me on this number, and I'll hand. She just likes giving out her number.
Finger guns.
Networking. And I will see you so soon. You know where you need to go? You need to go to. It was meant to be. It's the best coffee shop around town.
We're just gonna build like a circuit of just all these contacts that gravitate towards the coffee shop.
Exactly.
Alrighty, Ophelia, roll me a spot hidden.
Spot hidden. I lost it. There it is.
I'm excited.
Hard.
Ooh.
That's what I'm talking about. So, you are the earliest to sort of get out from this. It's late night, but the other two, meta-wise, they'll get to the rendezvous point probably a bit later than you.
Mm-hmm.
But you're sort of leaving the museum and high on the thing of like, I made a new friend and learned some really valuable information and stuff. Corroborating all the stories together, you start walking. And, coffee shop's not too far away. You know that the Sailors Club is down the coast a little bit. You might have to catch a taxi for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're walking, shiver up your spine. And you remember again as you think, no, and you turn around. And with a hard success, you don't make it too obvious, but there's someone following you again. Fedora, trench coat, and what looks to be cigarette. Side alleyway. And now that it's dark, you can see the features a lot clearer now. You can see the full silhouette, and this person's clearly following you. Ooh, hard success. Oh.
Oh no.
Roll me a sanity check.
Oh, feck.
Oh.
It's Cthulhu.
You just see too much.
Success. Oh my god. Oh my god. This means I gain sanity back, right? Oh.
Nope. That ain't how this game. For the record, if you survive this, you might gain sanity back at the end of the adventure.
Yay.
Ah, okay. You do not lose any sanity.
That's always a plus.
For now. Hard success though. Before this person, like, because they spot you now, like looking at them a bit closer, and they start pushing back into the shadows. Because they're like, nah, fuck this, I'm getting out of here. Smoke bomb, yeah, no. Your brain is sort of doing tricks on you. There's no way that that's true. There's no way he didn't have feet.
Wow.
It must have been the trench coat hiding it, or the trick of the angles with the boxes next to him or something. Just can't have been. But he just creepily goes back into the shadows, and roll me a listen check.
Oh, heck. Heck yes.
You
Nice.
swear you hear this in the far distance.
Oh, bless her.
I hate it.
Kill it.
I hate it so much.
With the spine tingling, you think, I'm moving, screw this. Like, you can follow if you want to, but that's up to
no.
you.
Oh, no. That's freaked her out enough.
Good choice. You book it.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God.
the three of you, eventually, you sort of come to the place yourself, waiting for quite a while. You go to the coffee shop and your friends are not there. You rush inside, you get a coffee, you're like, I need one. Like, this is going to be a long night, and that was some messed up stuff. And again, you look out, you're inside the diner, there's like lights up, you're feeling better about yourself, but your eyes slowly turn outside with paranoia and an the inquisitive nature. You're like, I'd rather know than not if this guy's following me. You look out to one of the side alleys, and again, a slight little light from a cigar. And this time, you see this.
Oh, I hate it.
And it disappears again into the shadows. Roll me... Oh, no sanity check on that one. You're still freaking out. About 30 minutes go by, 40 minutes go by, and eventually they stop filling up your coffee when Walking inside are your two friends, pretty much at the same time.
Oh, okay.
You
all
two
right.
see Ophelia. She's holding her drink like this. Like, actually, both of you see, the Dr. Beck has got his ear busted.
Doctor, what happened?
I had a rather unpleasant run-in with the biting cultist in Arkham Asylum.
He bit you?
The one with the teeth? Well,
The one with the teeth, yes.
oh, doctor. Is the ear still attached? What?
Yes, it's still attached.
Okay.
Goodness. Well, you've certainly had an eventful time. Perhaps we'll come back to you. Everett, anything of interest in the library?
Yeah, okay. What the detective told us was incorrect. It wasn't whatever he said. It was hypnos, which translates to hypnos, the Greek god. The cult is a cult of hypnos, the god of sleep. It's all tying together, right?
Ophelia, you can roll an occult check on that one, actually.
Okay.
Doctor, you had mentioned your sleeping patients.
The inmate talked a lot about dreams and about opening some sort of passage to dreams, and that Olga had found a crystal, was it?
A gem.
Gemstone.
A gem, some artifact that would make it possible for her to open some sort of portal. I think that is what they were trying to do out in the woods. Was it the woods, by the way? I just assumed these rituals happen in the woods.
No, they mentioned this. They said with the newspaper corroborated that. The police raided like the forest house out to the north. Yeah, Ophelia, it's starting to come full circle to you now that picture that you saw in the house, the Silver Knight, it was in a forest. There was a lady with long black hair, and behind her were strange colors of a small light and hands and a face reaching out.
And the house, the mansion of desponditude. That wasn't perhaps the forest house.
Hard to say. To be fair, the picture itself didn't look like it was next to a forest. It actually looked like it was on the side of a beach.
Okay. Is Vermont next to a beach?
No, Vermont's Vermont's that way. That doesn't help with the map. Vermont is to the
Is that right?
northwest.
Okay.
It's that way. Which I just remembered as I'm putting in the camera. That's probably going to reverse the freaking. Yeah. So New England's on. New England and Arkham is on the riverfront, close to the coastline. Vermont is towards the northwest, which is open field farm country.
Okay.
Especially in the 20s.
Of course. How could I have been so? I was about to say incontinent. That's not the word.
Incontinentia.
I was gonna actually go for obtuse, and it just didn't happen. How could I have been so obtuse? Right. This is all coming together now. So, Everett, you say they are worshipping the god Hypnos.
Well, they certainly did back in, in ancient times across the area that we now know as Greece. But to see it making a resurgence today with this cult must be some sort of mass hysteria. I mean, this is preposterous. People slipping into comas over it. And
oh, here's my favorite part. Roll me an idea check. Just for you. Please succeed.
Oh, I forgot about who that was, but somebody wrote about exactly that in exactly that time.
Funny how there's a resurgence of Hypnos around about 8 months after missing materials from the university
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to a certain excavation on Crete. And that your professor is holding the only book that he's holding from that collection that actually made it.
This is all lining up very troublingly, given the excavation of Knossos and all of the missing materials. I mean, this is potentially catastrophic, but that means that what was stolen, it perhaps is still local. Can we? Oh, this is very troubling.
To say the least. Doctor, go on about what is it that this rambling man was speaking about?
Yes, you mentioned a gem? What?
He said Olga was their leader and had and they tried to open some sort of portal to either get into the dreams, bring dreams back here, bring Hypnos back into this world. They must believe something in that direction.
With a hard success on the occult check, Ophelia, at least the sort of mentality of these kinds of cults, a lot of them share that kind of styling of favor for a god comes with prayer. Like, the more people you can get to convince to a situation, the more power it can possibly have. If there's a resurgence going on, then that means the power of that, at least how it says it in the occult books and in the olden days, it was that idea of mob mentality. Like, you couldn't deny that they were showing off their power because they had the statistics in their favor. They could show off, it's like, our people are better because we're surviving longer and there's more of us. Haha. If your god was so powerful, then how come he's letting me do this? And they break a statue or something. A lot of that sort of, it's making sense with what's coming out of, like, what they're saying right now, kind of thing. But gemstone, that sounds like an artifact. That's something a bit more potent. A lot of that was early Christian days during the Spanish Inquisition and the Dark Ages. A lot of the churches did a cool, not a cool thing, but like a way to sort of keep faith. They tended to hold these relics and objects. You know, the hand of, I think it was the hand of Jude, or like the spear of Longinus. And people would come and pray to these relics as the holy relics. Like, my church has the relic. No, mine does. It's really the hand of Jude. It's really mine. And that's how they were able to quickly incite favor by showing off these relics to each other and showing people up, basically.
I suppose it's come to my attention that perhaps it would be beneficial if we spoke to Angela Pendragon, Olga's best friend. It seems she was a strange individual, perhaps a little perturbed around normal folk, I suppose. I believe Angela will give us an insight into perhaps how to infiltrate and, well, become one and within the inner circle of this cult. I believe that is the way that we can get to the bottom of this mystery and perhaps meet Olga herself. And I must confess, I have been seeing a strange individual, perhaps tailing us, and I'll tell them about the figure that I keep seeing stalking me, but I won't tell them about the no feet.
Yep. Can you two just quickly roll me a power check?
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Not good.
That's like the second 99, man. What's going
Dang.
on? Yep, balancing out. So, both of you roll me a spot.
So there's a success.
Would you like to roll me a sanity check?
Oh no.
Oh, I was excited about my success, and now I'm not excited about it anymore. I rescind my excitement.
Sometimes
Oh,
seeing.
success.
Ooh, nice.
I'm not phased. It's chill.
Sometimes seeing things in Call of Cthulhu is not what you actually want.
Yeah, no, it definitely is not.
With an extreme success, you look out, hearing Ophelia's words, you can't help it, like the doctor as well. The two of you have to look outside for a quick second. The power is, the check of the power is to be like, nope, don't do that, you're fine, like, it's not out there. There's no reason to be paranoid, but with a failure on the power check, the two of you have to be paranoid in this moment. You're like, quick look. The doctor sees nothing, but you see a few people on the streets, and one that you might identify as creepy person in a side alley, but when you look over to them, they just slide back into the side alley, and you think, poor Ophelia, she's just freaking out. She's putting 1 and 2 together, just some random hobo being really creepy and stuff. Makes sense he'd be looking at you guys. You're currently in a diner having good coffee.
I think I see your figure, but I don't know if it's anything to worry about. People watch sometimes.
And sometimes people think that they can read French. She's going to be a little offended.
I'll have you know, I read that book somehow, maybe, possibly, or a different book, and that book was just happened to be very helpful. Maybe.
Definitely led the track places. The keeper was like, "Oh, I see, that's happening."
I think Ophelia will be like, so I think our next point of call would be to approach this Angela woman. Though I do still want to.
Easy.
On the plus side of that one, looking at the address, you technically have enough time. If you might be a bit obviously late to the speakeasy, but then again, what's late to a speakeasy?
Yeah.
Like it opens at 11. It's getting close to about 10-ish now. No, actually, it's probably past 10 at this point. It's up to you if you want to decide. Depending on how long it might take you, you could actually swing past her place first and then go to the speakeasy.
Just seems frightfully late to call on someone,
That could always be a plus.
That's the other thing, though. Yeah, it is pretty late.
Dish, wake up!
Yeah, she's in and you know this. She's in witness protection, so she'd be responsive, but she'd probably be quite concerned.
Perhaps we'd be best waiting.
Yes, I suppose.
There's always tomorrow.
Ophelia doesn't really understand
like
normal
in this game.
right.
Alrighty.
Speakeasy?
Speakeasy. Taxi cab is grabbed. The three of you get inside, taking attention to what's happening around you. Would you like to roll me a luck check, Ophelia?
Really?
You are the one with the lowest mark.
Just as I'm switching over to some fun jazz music. Yeah, surprising.
That was pretty close. You want to spend luck? Spend luck just to say,
doesn't work that way.
All right.
It goes down. Okay. Long drive over. No sanity really revolved around this. No spot hidden check, but as you're walking to the car, you're driving along. It takes about 20, 30-ish minutes to actually get to the speakeasy. When you're exiting the city, because the speakeasy is closer to the docks, because easier to get boatloads of liquor in that way, and being a sailors' club on the Mariners. You see the figure again.
Christ.
This time they walk out from the shadows and they look to you and they do this.
Back. I hate it. I hate it.
And this time, it doesn't like fade back into the shadows. It grabs its hat, turns around, and walks back into the shadows. At least you can only see the top profile of it because of like behind boxes and stuff. It just turns around and walks away.
Now, does he walk with feet?
You cannot see.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can
'cause
roll me
you
a
said it was
spot
a
hidden
stop-up.
check if you wish to see.
No, no. This is a moment I do not want to see. I think she'll shiver and kind of pull her jacket a little closer.
3 of you finally make your way to the Sailors Club. The music is blaring from here as the lights are coming in from the outside. Jazz music being played by, I was about to say an actual band. It's the 20s. There was no other option. There's like a radio maybe, but like
You can get
most
like
likely
just a big gramophone.
Big old gramophone.
you recognize the sound of a full damn it. The word that came to my brain was Motown. I'm like, that's not right.
No.
It's almost like a big band sound. Like you'd recognize at least 20 instruments in there.
Heck.
Benny Goodman just playing all over the place. Coming to the front, the taxi cab, like you pay him a couple of dollars. He sort of turns around, smiles, waves, drives off. As you get to the front, there is a dude standing about 6'5" with arms bigger than like half of you, just like. And he goes, "What do you want?"
Oh, isn't it obvious, dear sir? We would like to enter this establishment.
He looks you up and down. He says, "You seem to be overdressed there." And he sort of, he doesn't stop you or anything. He just like makes the sly comment and then just sort of opens the sash.
Yeah, I walk in. I can never be overdressed for a party, sir. And then walk in.
Like, the best way I can describe this guy is he's got the Thanos chin going on. He's got that,
Oh, goodness.
with that big hair. And it just like sours up when he looks at you like that. It's like, you guys walk in and it's a happening place. It's a real super duper happening place. There's a guy bartending at the front. He's sort of like cleaning a glass. I'm like, "Be with you in a second." And he's clean. He's turning around to a few people. There's a lot of flappers around. There's girls everywhere. Men sitting down just enjoying them. They've got big cigars. It's a smoke-filled room. And the music is just ever present. The acoustics in this room are delicious. The music moves, and half of you are just like, just want to sit down and drink a bit and like enjoy the festivity more than anything else. Yeah, what do you guys want to do?
I think Ophelia would be tapping her foot a little bit, going over to the bar, looking around, gazing around, just surveying the area, waiting for the bartender to come over, and she'll get a stiff drink.
In a very, what's the word? Rehearsed way of saying it, he walks over and says, "Welcome to the Sailors Club, Zeke's one-stop place to keep the drinks flowing through the night. I'm Samuel. How can I help you?"
I have a martini, dear boy. 2 olives, I think.
Coming right up. So pulls out a drink.
It's probably moonshine. I just
Yeah,
thought it's not gonna be like.
He pulls out a little like a metal container. He just sort of like pours it out. Gets an gets an olive, like spruces it up a little bit, like slides it over to you, and like I think he asked for like a couple of bucks for this one. It's a pricey drink.
Of course. My dear boys behind me will order their drinks, and I believe they'll finish up the round, and then I'll walk off.
I'll pay for your drink.
Roll me a Constitution check because this is a stiff drink.
Yeesh. Hell yeah.
It's getting to you a little bit. Like it's not
Warms the
greatest
tummy.
thing, but it's tough stuff. Like it's they make good money off the fact that this is top-notch alcohol. What are you two doing? You sort of come up to the bar like,
I'd have a Canadian whiskey. because I know that's not homemade and watered down probably.
He looks at you like, walks over, picks up a bottle from underneath. When he goes to reach underneath, he sort of exposes the underside of this bar, like a little bit. And what you see, and you know you're American, everyone will notice this. You see a Winchester rifle. It's got a clamp. It's got two hooks out to sort of keep it sitting there, ready to go. So within 2 seconds, he could reach up and. If anyone tried to do anything funky.
Can't relate. I'm English.
Hey, I'm Australian. I can't.
Sorry, Vivi. You have to call that out.
I relate a little bit too well.
Infomercials for your gun clamps on the side of your bed.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And how about the professor? What is he doing?
Yeah, I think he's just gonna get a scotch, and I think that's it. I don't think he's gonna be asking any questions or anything. He is not comfortable in a speakeasy.
Fair enough. Professor, you're the one that sort of notices this because you're not really giving into the festivities. One person in the back, you see them kind of staying away from the crowds of people, and they've got their head on the table, like not passed out, but just sort of like keeping to themselves. And you think, if there's going to be anyone here you want to sort of communicate with, it's someone who's not jumping in with the drinking and the revelry and stuff. What would you like to do? Would you like to walk over to this person, or just like be like, "You're over there, I'm over here"? Haha.
I think if perhaps the person made eye contact, he would, from afar, definitely do that. Like, neither of us want to be here, like little blast rays kind of thing.
Yeah. He looks up. He sort of gives you a little nod of the hat. He's got a big brimmed hat on him, not quite cowboy style, but very sleuthy look to him and stuff. He looks quintessential like movie star detective.
Okay.
And like he looks up, he does this, and then he goes.
Hey.
Great.
And he goes.
I think maybe at that Everett would go over. And he would just be like, "Well, you weren't joining in their festivities, but it seems you have your own to keep you a bit occupied."
Keeps me sharp, keeps me awake, keeps me motivated. Roger Cross, pleasure to meet you.
Oh, Roger Cross. I've heard your name before. I'm Everett Grimm.
You've heard me before?
I have. I imagine you're here for the same reason I am, actually. Myself and a few colleagues.
And he sort of looks at you, and he looks around to the people that came in. It's like, sit down. Come close.
Yeah, he would sit.
You're here for Olga, yeah?
We are. Yeah.
Fat lot of good it's gonna do you. She hasn't shown up in days. I've been chilling out here, keeping an eye out, but ever since, Zeke went missing, she hasn't really shown up back here since.
Zeke?
Zeke Carter, the owner of this establishment.
Huh.
He's, let's say, missing. He's, a few people are saying the word's going around that he hasn't really survived the summer.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people haven't made it past. It's an unfortunate, nasty business. It's a bit of a rough case to be on, I imagine.
Like I said, and he looks down to like just the the powder on the table. He goes, "I gotta keep an eye out here because it's the only lead I got left. But just face it, she ain't coming here. I'm just enjoying myself now, trying to keep myself sharp. But I haven't slept much in a few days." But
That is the opposite problem of many we've encountered. Many people are sleeping far too much. Interesting. Do you mind if I pull over my colleagues? I think they would be very intrigued to
go for
see
it.
that you are
There's
here.
room at the booth. I'm not going to stop you. And he's just like smiling like this, like just like through the cocaine.
Just give me one
Gunning.
moment.
He just does
Yeah,
this.
and I think Everett would try to retrieve the others if he could.
Easy enough. Ophelia, you've probably got yourself some fun attention. Do you think summons from Everett would make you pull back?
It depends. I feel like I would have gone over to essentially the prettiest girl in the room and tried to like sweet talk her in the sense of my friend Andrew, recommended this place. It's so fun, and started like a conversation with her.
Roll me a charm check.
Uh-oh.
And to be fair, they're sauce, so give me a bonus dice on that.
Sick.
Nice. Oh, Andrew? Yeah, he's been in here all the time. Him and Olga always having so much fun here. But they haven't been here in a while. I haven't seen them.
They are.
Word
They
on
are.
the street is they're... Oh, they ain't showing up here again. Not since, not since Zeke got a bit of a...
Oh no, was Zeke boy all jealous? Like, she's putting on an accent apparently.
I know, just like, ooh. It's like, not Zeke, more Andrew.
Oh, I'm going with the accent. were Olga and Zeke together?
And she's about to start talking more, and then you see her sort of look over your shoulder, and then she... and she just keeps dancing, and she sort of cuts conversations.
I'm gonna like do a dance around, like I'm trying to be pretty sly about it, and I'll follow her eye line.
Easy enough. You sort of do the dance around, you turn back to where she was looking, and you see that she was looking right at the bartender.
Okay. Okay, I'll turn back to her and be like, this is just such a... I was about to say hopping place. Yep, we'll go with it. A hopping place.
And at this point, tap on your shoulder.
Shoot. Oh, hello? And I'll turn to the whoever it is.
Everett.
Everett. What is it, dear boy?
Sorry, only Robert Cross, he's high over there.
You're coming to tell me that someone is high in a speakeasy?
No. Robert Cross, the detective on the case.
Oh.
The one that we're here
Yes,
for.
yeah. Okay, stop. Okay. Before he like blows our cover.
The girl's like, is this one here to dance as well? And she puts like a hand out onto Everett.
I don't know, Everett, are you?
Just kind of like puts two hands up and is like, I would crush your feet. And just like back away.
Nope.
I'll kind of push Everett towards it. Just kind of mad that he stopped the lead, but like, it's fine. We'll figure it out.
And drinking nice Canadian. Doctor, you see this whole scene.
I swear the doctor's just like it's just a perpetual sigh.
Just like, why am I doing this? What am I fighting for?
Yeah, I think if Everett saw the doctor would just like give a wave of like, come on.
Yeah, I'll just walk over to the booth.
Okay.
Detective Cross, these are my colleagues. This is Ophelia Cordova and the Dr. Tobias Beck.
Charmed.
Roger Cross, nice to meet you guys.
Hello.
Let's cut to the
all
chase
here.
here. I know that you're working the case with Olga, and I have a few questions.
Go for it. There ain't much to be asking, but go for it.
Have you been here for some time? Do you know the inner workings of this speakeasy?
I see the people coming in, I see the people going out.
Well, then, can you tell me the relations between the barkeep and the flapper girls around?
Barkeep's got a strong hold on words being said around people.
Does he know a lot?
Second in command to Zeke. Well, at least that's what they say.
Would you say that he stands to benefit should Zeke go missing?
That's a paid job. It wouldn't really help him if his boss went missing. Unless it's a complete hostile takeover, but I don't know. I don't understand why they wouldn't say that Zeke's missing then and that Samuel hasn't taken over.
Is Samuel the barkeep?
You guys really don't know this whole Zeke. You know what they call him?
Enlighten us, dear boy.
He's called Zeke the Geek. He's a weird fella.
What kind of weird? There are a lot of things that could mean.
You see me here, I'm having my fun times. You see these girls here, they're having their fun times. But not everyone here, at least what I hear. I put my ear to the ground and I hear what people say and what they're telling me. If you listen hard enough, you know that Zeke the Geek, well, he's a man of particular tastes. The word is orgy. Lots of them. Very virulent man he is. He keeps himself with these hedonistic parties. And I can tell you this now, the rumor mill is pretty dense that these parties get pretty weird.
I'll look to my two compatriots and kind of wiggle my eyebrows subtly. Where would one, not to say that I would do anything as indecent as what you are mentioning, but where would I attend one of these parties?
We'll see that one. That'd be at his mansion up the coast.
A mansion on the coast.
And at this point he says, you really should, and he gets cut off because Samuel walks right up to the bar and says, ladies and gentlemen, Roger, I think you've had enough fun tonight. Go on, get. Roger stands up straight away and turns left and right and says, good evening, and good night. And he walks out. Samuel puts his hands. Lady, gentlemen, I think it's time that the three of you came and saw the boss.
The boss? Well, of course, we would be honored.
He puts a hand out like this to the back room.
I'll kind of look at the guys and nod, kind of give them a steely nod, like, you know, we can do this. It's okay. Just follow my lead.
So, Samuel basically walks you guys to a kitchen. The bouncer from the front, he actually makes him come with him. And the two of them are behind you, walking you through this kitchen storage area. Eventually you come to a door. The door has like a couple of locks on it, and Samuel walks up and just...
I take note of
Come
it.
in. Door opens. Behind you, these two sort of like almost shove you guys in. And in this small room out the back of the speakeasy, you guys see this.
What?
Zeke. For those of you listening, there is a dapper gentleman with a full suit to himself, checkered with a tie. He's keeping himself low with a brimmed hat. Behind him is a bookshelf, and he's stealing himself under a night lamp. In his possession at the front, he holds an old tome. And as he's flicking over it, he looks up and goes, slams the book closed. Professor, would you like to roll me a Greek check?
I would love to.
Oh no.
Not enough to sort of see. You can tell it's Greek, obviously, but not quick enough to sort of read what's on the book.
Okay.
But it looks old. And he sort of like closes it, and it makes that sort of sound as like the pages try to separate with the weight of the binding. Takes the book, slides it out, puts it into a drawer. And he leans forward gently, like he's very methodical about his movements, and he says, "Good evening. How can I help the three of you?"
Well, sorry, does anyone want to go?
We all just swallow hard.
Well, Mr. Zeke, it is so nice to finally meet you. I've heard much about you and your, it seems that we have shared interests.
You're talking about Olga, right?
One of many things, yes.
That slut.
Goodness.
She stole something from me. Something that is rightfully mine. I want it back.
Well, it's a good thing that you have a private investigator in your midst.
Doctor, roll me a medicine check.
Sure.
Sick.
Hard success.
Do you want to spend 2 points
Nice.
of luck?
To make it an extreme, if the DM says that, I'll do that.
You don't have to. Like, this is just...
No,
I noticed that
sounds
it's
good.
close enough. It's up to you.
I do it.
Roll me a side.
Oh, God.
Damn it.
You were
Tricked me.
fooled.
But I succeed.
Good.
Nice.
You chalk it up to clothing more than anything else. This guy's talking like he's got a collapsed lung. Like, he looks like he's been messed up pretty freaking hard. And given the way he's moving, you would essentially assume some kind of like stab wound, like vicious stab wounding. And judging by the way he's moving as well, he's not moving his lower chest, like his stomach region. He's taking very careful precautions to move upper body, but not lower body. The shirt itself and the way the suit is, it's holding onto him pretty tight. And you swear that you can see ribs sort of like sticking out a little. He looks messed up. And the fact that he's even talking at all is a miracle. So, he sort of pushes that to the side, pulls that stuff out. Olga. I brought her into my house. I shared with her and others, and this is how she repays me. She steals my stuff. She leaves me for dead, but I'm a stronger cat than that. I bounce back, 'cause I'm Zeke the Geek, and you can't freak the geek. So I'm gonna make an offer, and I'm gonna hope that you accept this one. Now, my boys, they're not the savviest of boys, but I think you three might find what you're looking for with some motivation. He reaches over and pulls out a little bag. Not even a bag, like a little case. He opens it up, looks at it, turns it around, and says, "For finding her and returning my property, it is a little gem about this big. It's mine. I don't care what you do to her. She can die for all I care, but I want my property back. And I'm willing to pay $3,000
Yo.
if you can get me back my stuff." How does that sound to you three? Effectively, by modern day standards, $60,000.
What is the stuff we would be after?
My property. The gem.
Just the gem.
She stole it from me. I'd like it back.
Could I ask, Mr. Zeke the Geek?
Mr.
Where did the
Carter to you.
Mr. Carter? Apologies. Where did the gem come from?
And you hear from behind you, like cracking of knuckles from Samuel and the other man, and he says, "That ain't none of your goddamn business."
Now, my associate does not.
Gem, your gem, your property, your gem. Yep.
Glad we cleared that up.
Always been your gem. Always been your gem. Never anyone else's gem. It's your gem. Yep.
My bumbling associate does not mean to offend Mr. Zeke. Of course, we are just trying to ascertain the properties of your property. The more information we have, the easier it is we will be able to find it.
If you come across this gem, you'll know it. I would highly recommend casing it with some covering. Don't look upon it. It has a weird effect on those of the weak-minded. Some people get strange ideas about taking it for themselves. And they do desperate things to take it away from the people that it's meant to be for, especially when it's their property. So I ask you this now. You'll know when you see it, because she is not getting rid of it. She wouldn't have did what she did to me if she'd just throw it away.
Of course, she sounds like a horrid woman. Where would you think that we would find Olga?
I'm sure if you're savvy enough to land here, asking questions and not hitting dead ends, you'll know where to look. The last clue I know is that she has family, but they aren't around anymore, which means if she's moving to the city, then she's moving back home too. There's no one there waiting for her. Sounds like a good place to hide.
Yes, very astute of you. You wouldn't think that I hear along the grapevine that you are from the coast.
He doesn't answer. He just looks at you.
She'll leave that lead then. Unless any of you have any other questions, I believe Mr. Zeke has been very kind with his time.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Zeke Carter, of course.
Everyone roll me a listen check.
Heck yes. Oh shit.
I fumble again.
It's that ear, man. You can't hear nothing.
Yeah, it's the broken ear. How am I gonna hear anything?
That makes sense. You get a bit of a weird buzz in your ear, and you actually have to like touch at it, and you just sort of go like you have to recover because you just full contact to open ear. You're like, ah. Okay, sanity check.
Oh, why? I should just not. I should just fail everything.
Nope.
Heck yes.
Except for this one you should succeed.
This guy, when he growls, you feel it in your soul. He's growling from his whole body, and you're just like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Is
Like, you swear you see the table rumbling a bit when he goes,
Christ. I don't know if I want to see that, but looking at him, does he seem normal?
Roll me a spot hidden check.
This is gonna be
Don't.
hard success.
No.
Do you want to spend 2 points of luck?
No, I don't have enough luck. I wish I could, but no.
Okay. Roll me a sanity check.
Shiza.
Just for me quickly, roll me
To
an
be fair, I
ID
could
check.
give you 2 luck now.
Can't spend luck on sanity.
Oh, yes, I can't, yeah. Was it an
But
idea
you can
check?
roll me an idea check.
Okay.
You're looking to fail this.
Feck. No.
You wa- Oh.
I should
You
never
see
have
too
said
much.
anything.
You understand too much.
Heck feck.
And Jared rolls for damage.
Shit.
Goodness.
Never ask questions. Never ask questions.
Mm-mm.
You know what? I'm going to send this to you
Oh, heck.
because I want to see your reaction to this information while the others don't know what's going on because
Okay.
you're all in the room.
I'm down for it. I love secrets.
First things first, I need to tell you how much damage you take to your sanity.
Less.
Gosh.
Oh, man, I am so close to 32. It's not even funny.
Alright, here we go.
2
Oh, it's right in
points.
front of
2
me.
points.
I'm an idiot. Wait, 2 points and then you're busted?
No, I can't maths. 5, maybe?
Oh.
IDK.
You should be fine. You take 2 points of sanity
Heck
damage.
yes. I made that happen. Oof, that was hard.
Fun time.
This is normally the time where I do my shtick, where I'm like, the Call of Cthulhu Crew, everyone. This is where we...
So I leave that to you. And so with that, I'm gonna say with the 2 points of sanity damage, you probably freeze up a little and think, we should leave.
I think we've taken up enough of Mr. Carter's time now. Thank you.
Goodbye and good luck. And he goes back to pulling out his book again, like not like opening it in front of you, but like he pulls it back out again and waits for you guys to leave. Professor, one more Greek check.
Yeah.
This is
Gosh.
incredible.
Not close
Gosh.
enough.
No.
At least the spine you can read one word of it is that it says book. Like it literally says book.
Mm-hmm.
You get the feeling the second word says of, maybe? But you're not sure what the rest of it said. And he sort of like holds it underneath the table and he waits for you guys to leave.
Yeah, I mean, we leave. We're
Yeah,
not
this guy creeps
lingering.
me out. We leave.
All of you guys walk outside. The Samuel and as he says to me, he says, "All right, Wiggles, let's go." So Wiggles and Samuel take you guys outside, and they actually like take you outside the building as well. It's like, I hope you had a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Hope to see you again at the Sailors Club, and they close the door behind you.
Well, that was a enlightening experience.
We didn't actually agree to help him, but we sure don't have a choice, do we?
3,000.
Mr. Carter doesn't seem like the man you have a choice with. He doesn't seem like a man either.
We
Ophelia,
can't give
got
him this gem.
anything you want to say to that?
I don't know, man. They doubted me the last time.
They seem to be coming around to you on this one.
I think there are a lot of strange things happening in Arkham. They are quite unusual and quite frightening. I feel strange individuals are hiding in plain sight. Mr. Zeke did not seem as human as a human should be.
How?
Well,
Just how so?
We shouldn't speak in front of here. We should return to somewhere a little safer, less out in the open.
A couple of minutes go by as you walk away from this place. You get a good distance away. Go to a phone line, call up a taxi, but you're at least, 100 yards away, so 100-ish meters, and you feel safely far away because the music is aside.
Mr. Zeke seemed a little more elongated than most. I'm no doctor, but it seemed he had many more ribs than usual. Whereas Jared had 16 ribs versus the human 12.
But I saw some ribs too. I figured he had some sort of injury that no normal human can survive.
Just for fun, for the players, look at the photo again. Look very carefully just underneath the book.
I don't want to.
I don't
Jared.
wanna.
I don't want to look at it.
Just where the tie meets the intersection
I
between
thought
his
you
shirt.
just
I
had a
know.
weirdly
What is
wrinkled
that?
jacket.
Oh
No.
my
I thought
God.
It was wrinkly.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
that's a weird jacket drawing, but okay. Is that like arms? Or is those ribs?
No.
That's like because that's what the doctor saw, like the clothing hugging to him, and that's the shape it was making.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Hey, Jared, I hate it.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. He's in the building. You don't have to deal with him ever again. It's fine. The scary man is gone away.
We're not going to come across anything scary anymore. It's rainbows from here on out.
Yep. We're just gonna find a pretty gem and put it on a necklace and be happy.
Yep.
Get like some cute jewelry. We're good.
This time, you guys turn around, and all of you are frozen. Because in the far distance, away from the light, there is a man standing there, and all of you can see, to the bottom of his body, where knees should connect to legs and feet, there is a shimmer with no finality to it. And all you hear as he lifts off the hat and goes, he does this. And that's where we end the session.
Oh my god.
Hey, Jared, I hate it.
Heck.
If if you guys would like to see, this is what you're looking at.
No. I mean, I'm about to go to bed, dude, so do I want to see it?
Ooh.
Show me. Go on. I'm a glutton for punishment. Feck.
Could you send
So
a
we
picture
start
of
off
that
next
in the
session with a
Discord?
sanity check.
Yeah. Send it in the Discord.
Yep.
Phoebe's like, I want to look at it.
I do. I want to look at it intently, and that way I can be full of fear and disgust and hatred, and then I can suffer.
Just go to
I too am a glutton for punishment.
Hell heck.
So,
We're playing COC, we all are.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
extremely true.
Okay, guys,
with
do it
that, you
for the
guys
recording.
get to do improvement roll.
Oh, amazing. Yes, let's do that.
Some good stuff. After the bad
Good.
stuff.
So you're trying to roll equal to or above the skill that you've ticked. If you roll above, you roll a d10 and add it to the.
So, sorry, I was switching the music. What are we rolling?
So for each tick that you got for your boxes, you go down the line one by one. You roll a d100, and you're trying to roll equal to or above that skill.
Okay.
Quick way to do it is honestly just to click the green dice because it will roll it.
Right.
So we want to fail basically.
So that was for library use.
Fail
You-
or succeed with spot on.
Okay.
Yeah, so succeed, spot on, or fail. Yep. If you fumble, let me know. Like 100, that's
Hell
good.
yeah.
Ooh,
I was
Ophelia.
just gonna roll a d100. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Because like that, I got the
Uh,
73 for my library use, so I'll roll a.
Oh,
What would that be? A d10 to see if I get what my improvement is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, a great, a 1.
what was that?
Really?
Oh, it was a D10. It was a D10.
Yep.
So you can roll again. You accidentally rolled a D10.
No, that is a d10. That's what she was looking for.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
So
no, the
if
d10
you
is.
improve it, you add a d10 to it.
God, yeah.
And then just my group. This is for free.
Oh, okay, then I need to roll a D10. Nice.
A 38. So I didn't improve my Greek at all. And I got a single point in library use. Great.
Oh, jokes.
I know. It's tragic.
61 for charm. I would have loved to have increased my library use.
Guys, what the hell?
We're just too successful.
Yeah, I'm disgruntled.
And
Come
this one,
on.
I'm Gama.
Really?
Wow. Wow, that was... There you go.
Hey,
Fail the
There
medicine.
you go. We got medicine.
that's what you want.
Yes.
Dude, nice!
Yo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wasn't
Oh,
figuring this one.
Yeah, that's fair. And
That too?
Ophelia, you also have an occult roll that you succeeded at.
Oh, yes, I did. Didn't mark that one down.
Look at you. Y'all succeeded on so much. I only
Oh,
got library use in my
Poo
Greek.
bags.
I only got one
Same.
actual improvement, and that's one's gonna benefit all of y'all because it's medicine.
Wait,
Uh,
didn't I do a spot hidden? I feel like I succeeded at a spot hidden somewhere.
Did
Yeah.
I do
I'm pretty sure.
psychology that I succeeded?
Because I think it was
You
whenever I was looking.
failed.
I thought so
Oh no,
too.
you succeeded.
Yeah, no, I succeeded. But it was whenever I was looking at the figure, and
Yep.
I just said it was nothing. Okay, so I needed to.
Oh no,
We
I failed
untick these now, right? Since we've rolled to improve them.
Yes.
it.
Okay.
Sweet.
So I'll roll that last. A 6. Oh yeah, that's way above my spot hidden. Cool.
Cool.
Nice.
D10.
Come on, come on. Where did my dice roll? There we go. Hey!
Heck yeah.
So
I'm so
normally,
good at spotting hidden things.
in a much longer campaign, this would happen at the end of each adventure as the sort of culmination of like you guys, dealing with the adventure, like being pushed to those limits you potentially improve.
Mhm.
Just because it's sort of like a medium campaign, I do it at the end of every session.
Nice.
So if you're not like failing all these rolls, don't worry. There'll be, next session as well, and the session.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the picture that you see.
That's heckin' gross.
I need to scroll. Oh, I hate it!
That's seriously gross.
And like, it doesn't show in the picture, but he's got a top hat and he takes it off. And the thing that this picture doesn't do justice to is the fact that his colors are all wrong. Like, he looks pretty much closer to like the Joker. But there's purple hues in there, there's strange browns, all that kind of stuff.
I hate it.
And to be fair, it's my favorite character to play because it's the one that goes.
He looks like an
that's the
awful
worst.
little rat man. His face is so scrunchy and his teeth are so big.
And just to help with this session for next session, he's standing there. He's not moving away. He's just standing there and waving.
Great. Fantastic. Brilliant. It's just what I want to hear. Okay,
Great.
let's round up this session just for the recording.
Cool.
Thank you, Jared, for being fantastic, for taking us on this journey. It was so
thank you
amazing
very much.
to get to know Everett and Dr. Tobias Beck, and Ophelia, whatever the hell she is from like Louisiana, apparently.
And round of applause to the French Patrick Devlin.
Exactly.
I'm so glad he knew French.
He is the real MVP of this session.
You players, if you come up with stuff, I'll add it in, and if it makes sense, and if the rolls are in your favor, then the rolls are in your.
Amazing.
Figured it couldn't hurt to ask,
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, well, we'll see you in the next session. Bye.
See you guys.